Hello, and welcome to another edition of the How Long to Beat podcast. My name is Leah, and I am joined by Diallo.
Prepare for trouble.
Roy.
Make it double.
And Matt.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the end, but it worked.
I feel like if we're going to reduce it to 3 lines, those are the 3 most iconic ones. So I support your decision.
Exactly. Team Rocket early days when we're not sure what our intro lines are.
Yeah. Today's topic is going to be a twofer. We are going to be doing a little Secret Santa exchange, and also we will be talking about media tie-in games, licensed games, that sort of intriguing spectrum of games that there is. And then we will go into the Guess the Game. But first, we're going to start with what games we've beaten recently.
I will go first. Apologies that I wasn't able to attend the discussion section for the last episode, but I will be sharing the game that I would have chosen for that one, which is Aviary Attorney. This was the dustiest game in my backlog. I purchased it on November 29th, 2020, so about 4.5 years ago now. And apparently my subconscious is on a mission to talk about as many bird games on this podcast as I can, so here we go.
Oh, yeah.
So, Aviary Attorney. As the name suggests, you're a bird and you're a lawyer. More specifically, you're an alcoholic named JJ Falcon, whose name is a reference to JJ Cronville. He's a French illustrator whose work this game is based off of. So he does a lot of drawings of anthropomorphized animals in very, very fancy attire. And those are sort of the character portraits for this game. If you look it up, they're very cute and very funny. So you've got these like lovely anthropomorphized fancy animals paired with this like beautiful orchestral soundtrack. And I think it just works really well together to create this lovely atmosphere. The game takes place in Paris in the year 1848, which puts us on the cusp of a revolution, and that sort of serves as the backdrop for a lot of the overarching story of this game. If you've played other trial-based games like Ace Attorney or Danganronpa, the gameplay loop is probably going to be a bit familiar to you, where you start off each sort of like chapter, each story arc, in the investigation phase. So there's some sort of crime that's occurred, and you have to go to the crime scene and like gather evidence, as well as talk to people and hear what they have to say about the events that transpired. And then at the end of the chapter, you'll go to trial. And your job is to you're in the courtroom, cross-examining witnesses, trying to find contradictions in their testimonies, et cetera, et cetera. One thing about this game that I haven't seen in other sort of like lawyery games is there's a time management system, kind of like something like in Persona or like Fire Emblem Three Houses, where you have a certain number of days, and then each day you can only like go to a limited number of places. You have to sort of manage like where you're going to go, and yeah, there's a time management aspect as well. And if you don't manage your time well enough, it's totally possible to end up at the trial without the necessary evidence you need to get your client like a not guilty verdict. So yeah, you have to pay attention to make sure that you're being efficient.
Does that give you a game over, or do you just continue with having lost the case?
So that actually brings me to my next point, is that if you lose a case in this game, it is not a game over. You're able to lose a case and then continue on with the story, which does have an effect on, the overarching story and what ending you get not tunneled into, but like what ending you get sorted into. But yeah, you can lose a case and still keep the story rolling, which I found very interesting. It took me about 5 hours to beat the game, but note that playtime is inflated by a lot of time spent playing virtual blackjack. There's a little mini game, and I got very into it. Because it's such a short game, I found that the trials weren't really like long enough to be super satisfying for me. Overall, I would say the game feels a little bit rough around the edges. To give a few examples, so the menuing is a bit bare bones. There's pretty much, if you open the menu, it's pretty much just like save the game, quit the game, or go to settings. But I mentioned the calendar system previously, and I really wish that there was some sort of like in-game visual calendar that shows like where you are and how many days left you have until the trial, because they don't say that. So if you are not paying attention, you're just like, I hope I'm managing my time well, but I don't know when the deadline is. So I think something like that would have been a big help. I also feel like, and this is something that I want for all games, but especially for text-based games, is some sort of like log of dialogue that's previously occurred.
Yeah, that's always convenient.
Yeah.
Right. And especially for like a text-based game. It's kind of like borderline visual novel, this game. And if you like click through fast, do some dialogue, you just can't see it again. So it's a bit of a downside, I felt. Also, there were a couple silly typos. I feel like it would have benefited from proofreaders. Like at one point, the word her was spelled HES. Little things like that that slip through the cracks.
Yes.
And then this one is like a super, super minor detail. I'll explain it first, and then I'll talk about my feelings about it. So you have a wallet in this game. In the bottom right corner of the screen, you have like 3 buttons. One opens your inventory, one opens character profiles, and the other one tells you how much money you have. And I just felt like, but the thing is, you have to click on the wallet icon, and then it shows you your balance. and then you click on it again, and then it closes the window. I wish that you could just like hover over the wallet, display it that way. I feel like just the little finishing touches like that were kind of missing in this game. Little bits of polish that would make it just like take it to the next level, make it feel like a bit more of a refined experience. That being said, though, this is the developer Sketchy Logics. It's their developer team. It was their first game, so I think the potential is there for sure. And they did make a second game in 2023, or sorry, they released a second game in 2023 called Small Saga, which apparently has caught my eye before.
The Small Saga guys?
It is, yeah. Apparently, it was in my search history, so apparently I've looked up that game at some point in the past. So I have confidence that in their future games that they'll be able to sort of like fine tune with the comments that I had for this iteration. But overall, I did enjoy it. I will say that I liked it. The writing is very funny. There's like a lot of nice little French puns thrown in. And by the end, I was definitely invested in the story. So if it's been sitting in your backlog for the past 5 years, I would say it's worth checking it out. Sorry, do you have something?
No, I was just going to say, if they are indeed the Small Saga devs, then that instantly makes me very interested. That's a game that's near the top of my wish list, actually.
Same.
I remember Aviary Attorney and thinking the art looked very cool, very old school, not like old school video game, like old school real life.
Yeah, exactly. I love the artwork was sort of like caught my eye in the first place, and it's definitely very charming and very fun.
Yeah,
these people found me at like some Comic-Con way back in the day. I remember it was like on Kickstarter, and they were like, "Do you like birds? Do you like Ace Attorney?" And I was like, "I do, actually." So,
you asked the right person.
The perfect person for them to like walk up to. But then like it released, and it just stayed on my backlog until like I started doing stuff on Twitch, and then I was like, "This is a short game. Let me finally get through this." And it was also very enjoyable at the time.
There you go.
I also think that I like the concept of the Ace Attorney games, but I don't have the endurance for the length of those. Apparently, this is very short, like you said, Leah. This seems like it would be more my kind of style as well. So I'm glad you got this advertisement in here.
And you do like birds.
Definitely a smaller commitment than an Ace Attorney game. So if you are curious about like a trial game and you want one that's not going to take up your entire life, this could be a good entryway for you.
Are there pigeons though? That's the big question.
Are there? That's a good question, actually.
I don't remember seeing any pigeons, but there's a lot of characters, so don't quote me on that. There could be pigeons. I'd have to replay to tell you.
Matt, we'll have to get Matt on the case to see if there's pigeons in this game. He'll keep an eye out. We know he will.
Yeah.
I do also have to say, after Leah said her dustiest game was 2024, hearing Diallo say 2020 and then remembering me and Matt were like 2010 and 2012 is very funny to me.
Yeah, so as I was going through my backlog in preparation of last week's episode, one thing that I realized is that mine is a lot more manageable than I realized. I won't give the whole story, but yeah, basically, if my oldest game is 2020, I have confidence I could potentially, knock on wood, get to every game in my backlog at some point in my lifetime, maybe.
Oh no,
this is ambitious. But I imagine that mine would like go stretch back to like the 2010s or something, but nope, it's
instead manageable. You don't have a game that's just been sitting in your Steam backlog since before the beginning of the time. What is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my dustiest game. And then the other game that I've beaten is Indika. Oh my gosh, so excited to talk about this one. So if you're listening to this episode the day that it airs, then it will have just turned one, or it will be turning one tomorrow. It's a relatively recent game, and it's about a nun who's going through sort of a crisis of fate. She hears this devilish voice in her head telling her like very unchristian thoughts, and she wants to be rid of it. She ends up leaving her monastery and journeying with an escaped convict who has found God. And I'm being a little bit vague about the details surrounding said journey and said departure from the monastery because I don't want to spoil any story beats. But in terms of gameplay, it's broken up into, there's a kind of a chapter structure. It reminds me a little bit of What Remains of Edith Finch, because each chapter you never really know what you're going to get. Like there's a lot of sort of like walking simulator, which I don't mean that in a derogatory way. There's a lot of like sort of just like walking through gorgeous environment sections. There's a lot of puzzling. There's some platforming. There's even racing at some points. So yeah, it's definitely like a grab bag of a bunch of different gaming genres. And I will say the presentation of this game. Yeah, the presentation of this game is beautiful. You're journeying through all these like very snowy, rustic townscapes. And the game, everything about the game is just incredibly cinematic. And I think the game knows this. Well, I know the game knows this because there are these benches that are set up in various locations throughout the game. You can sit on them and then cycle through a lot of different like viewpoints at whatever location you are at that point. And there's a photo mode too, where you could just like pause the game and like move the camera around and get lots of
yeah.
pictures. Yeah, this is another game that took me about 5 hours to beat, and I took about 100 screenshots over the course of those 5 hours. But I will say, there's the escaped convict you travel with. I thought he was very beautiful, so a lot of those screenshots were of him. Full disclosure.
Let's go.
But just as I was going through the game, I was just wowed by its beauty, and just constantly, it's just a feast for the eyes. And then what's also really interesting is that they contrast the beautiful, gorgeous, hyper-realistic graphics with pixel art. So when you pick up a collectibles, for example, it brings you to a little like, item information screen. On the left hand of the screen, you have the collectible that you've picked up, rendered in like its realistic detail. And on the right hand of the screen, you'll have a little description of the item written in this very like retro arcade style font with like little coin icons underneath. So the way that they kind of like blend like the realistic and like the pixely is really nice. Also, so I mentioned that there's these kind of like chapter structure, and every now and then between two chapters, you'll have a little pixelated chapter which talks about Indika's backstory, kind of like flashbacks to her past. And those little mini chapters are all instead of like the 3D version, it's a 2D like overhead pixelated game. And the pixel art for those sections is also very, very beautiful. If those were like a standalone game, it would be like stunning on its own for just those levels. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this game is it's definitely got a surreal bent to it. For me, part of the fun in playing this game is just like, going through the game and seeing something a little bit off and doing a double take and be like, wait a second, did I see that right? So I don't want to like what the WTF moments. They're kind of fun. So I don't want to spoil those for you, but I will give an example, one sort of like surreal aspect of the game. And this is actually what inspired me to buy the game in the first place. I was watching a friend stream this, and he was going through one of these sections. But every now and then, there are points in the game where I guess the devil has a particularly strong hold on Indika, so the entire world goes red, and then it becomes very like warped and distorted and contorted. And you have the devil like monologuing relentlessly in the background and sort of like cackling at you as things go around. And what you have to do is you can hold a button to pray, and if you pray, then the world goes back to normal. But there are these puzzles that you have to navigate by switching back and forth between like the warped world and like the normal world. So like you'll walk like a couple steps and then you realize, oh, I'm kind of blocked here. So you have to like stop praying and like let the devil take over for a second, and then the world stretches and then you can advance a bit further, and then like you'll pray again and then it collapses and then you advance a bit more and like back and forth. And the way that they do that is just like really cool, both visually and like gameplay wise. Also, I have to note, speaking of the monologue that the devil does, voice acting in this game is absolutely top notch. It is fantastic performances all around. Also on that note, the devil, if you like fall off the stage and die, the devil has all these like savage quips that he makes. My favorite being, makes sense. So so if you want to get sassed by the devil, Indika is the game for you. My only complaint about this game is, so there is the chapter structure, but it's not always clear like where one begins and where one ends. And if you want to quit the game, if you're trying to save and quit, it warns you, everything since the last checkpoint won't be saved. Like, are you sure you want to exit? But they don't tell you when that checkpoint was, and I feel like that's just such a good.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a short enough game that you could conceivably play it in like one sitting if you wanted to. But I played it spread out across 3 days, and I lucked out in that I was stopped at pretty clear breaking points each time. But I've heard like as I was reading up on the game online and everything, I heard people complain that like they maybe like stop the game at like what they thought was a checkpoint and it wasn't. They had to sort of like replay more of a chapter than they wanted to. But that's literally the only complaint I had about it. Besides that, I think it was fantastic. It's a certified Diallo game. I think it's a masterpiece. Highly recommend. Oh, and also one last note to end on. I wanted to mention one thing that I found really quickly is that, so after I beat a game and I really like it, I tend to sort of just like deep dive into reading up on like the lore of the game, like reading up on people's like theories and like explanation stuff. Sometimes I watch like speedrun videos of the game. But as I was doing my sort of like post-game binge this time around, I came across this like beautiful video essay by Jenna Stieber, which talks about Indika and sort of like the interesting way that they use gameplay mechanics. Big spoilers for the game, so don't watch it until after you've beaten Indika. But if you have played Indika, definitely recommend that you check out Jenna Stieber's video essay on it. It's spelled Stieber, spelled Stoeber. Yeah, she brought up a lot of points that I didn't even realize about the game, and it was definitely an enjoyable listen. Yeah, those are my 2 beaten for this month.
Seems delightfully devilish, Diallo.
Yes.
Good lord.
Yeah, I'm sold on this.
I do respect the game that has a dedicated pray button. That's always fun.
Yeah, it seems very much like a more, I don't want to say serious. I guess it's the same sort of like jokey vibes, but maybe a less cartoonish Cult of the Lamb in the way that the mechanics work between the two, the gods and the demons.
Right. Except
Oh.
very different spiritualities. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything on my beaten list, so we can skip me this month because we have to.
I can go next.
I'm excited to hear how you're gonna pronounce the name of your first game in this list.
So actually, here's the funny thing. The first game on my list is a TurboGrafx game. I thought this was pronounced Gotzendiner, but I think it's supposed to be closer to Gotzendiner, and I was actually going to ask Matt how you're supposed to pronounce this, because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Can I give a guess?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
go for it. Guess the pronunciation, our new hit game.
Is it Gutzendina?
Yeah, I think Diallo was the closest for sure. Roy seconded and was very
Gutzendiner.
close as well.
All right,
Gutzendiner.
Gutzendiner.
Yeah. It's
All
German for everybody that's wondering. Yeah.
That umlaut will get you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right, the umlaut. But Gutzendina, which is a TurboGrafx game. This is a weird one, but this is a game where I'm going to say that it wasn't good, but I enjoyed playing through it. So this is a game with kind of an interesting premise, I would say. It starts off with an actually well hand-drawn, hand-animated cinematic, and it's very classic. You know, Demon King kidnaps princess, Dragon Quest asks-looking hero, gathers a whole army to go take him down, all that kind of stuff. You know, there's a bit during the intro, you see like the whole army die basically in the castle. And then the intro ends with the hero about to take on the Demon King. Start the game, Demon King is dead, hero dies from his wounds in front of you, and the princess he kidnapped now has to escape the castle by herself from the remnant of his forces that are still there, with the hero's sword. So, bit of a rug pull kind of game. This is like an isometric Legend of Zelda style game. I've heard people say it's closer to like a Landstalker for the Sega Genesis. I've not played Landstalker though, so I can't actually say. This one's interesting. The gameplay is, I'm gonna say questionable. This is the first game I've ever played where to walk forward you have to hold diagonal. So, you know, to walk forward you have to hold diagonally. On a D-pad.
That sucks.
It does.
Wait. What kind of camera is it?
It's isometric.
Isometric? Okay.
Yeah, like a Super Mario RPG,
Gotcha.
which I assume is why you have to do that to move, but it makes it very awkward to control, I'll say that. And all the time through this game, you will kind of jitter and end up going left and right by accident when you're trying to just go forward. It's very Legend of Zelda-like in that you're kind of just going through like a big dungeon, puzzles, some fighting. But there's really not much fighting, and I wouldn't even say there's many puzzles. So it's almost like a vibes-based exploration game because it has like kind of an eerie, empty atmosphere, which I like a lot. But the gameplay is just kind of, you know, you solve some simple puzzles, you defeat some simple enemies. Pretty easy to get through. This game was actually never translated into English as well, but there's only like three things in this that have any dialogue, so did not really matter. I actually found a GameFAQs guide when I was looking something up that had like somebody doing translations from 2009, which means I'm not sure about their accuracy.
Right.
You know, this is like a 3-hour game, I want to say, even though the type of game sounds like it would be longer. It almost feels like a modern like short indie game, honestly.
How did you find this?
Well, I was just kind of looking stuff on backlog.com. I was just kind of digging through stuff. I think somebody I followed liked a review on it, and I looked at the review and I was like, this sounds interesting. Let's download.
And then you decided to become the Gutzendina.
That's right. I decided to Gutzendina all over the place. But
Good lord.
But I saw it was like 3 hours on howlongtobeat.com, 2 hours, whatever it says. I'm like, sure, why not? And it even fulfills one of my game challenges for the How Long to Beat game challenge, which is a game entirely in a language that I don't speak. Because like I said, it was never translated. The end of this game is very funny. Oh, I forgot to mention, this game was partially developed and funded by Team Gainax, which is like the Neon Genesis Evangelion guys.
Oh.
Which is interesting. I think I had like a tie-in manga.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I can't see it too, honestly. But I think I had like a tie-in manga, which I couldn't find. No surprise there. But like you can tell this game was rushed because it came out like right near the end of the TurboGrafx lifespan in Japan. The final boss has one attack. They will never attack if you're on a diagonal. So I kind of just beat them without even really seeing them attack the first time.
Amazing.
Was that intentional,
Yeah,
or was that like a miss, an oversight in the programming? I wonder.
I feel like it had to be that they just ran out of time. I can't imagine that was intentional. Maybe it was. Doesn't feel that way. Especially because the fight is kind of stunned. You actually fight a way harder boss right beforehand that has like 2 phases. Oh, and they also have a small minion because it's the revived Demon King, and it's like a minion that revives stuff throughout the game. But there's no dialogue or anything. I like the fact the heroine gets different, her clothing and outfit and hair and stuff change multiple times through the game to signal like the growth, all that kind of stuff, but it's just not actually that good to play. Feels like a game where if like an indie dev told me that they developed this neat game and they were inspired by Gutzendiener, which they found on a ROM website, I would be like, oh, that makes sense to me. This would inspire someone. That's like a 3 out of 10 game by itself.
It's like one of those things that you just happen to own, so you beat it, and you're like, that one game that I played on that one thing that nobody else remembers, but it's like, it's your game. And then just inspires you to make better
Yes,
games.
I can totally imagine that for someone. I'd also say I might make your moveset for the main character of all things, which is my like Smash moveset making thing.
Yeah.
That's Gutzendiener. The next game is one that I believe someone on here played before, but I couldn't remember if it was Leah or someone else, which is Little Kitty Big City, which I beat last night. I'm not sure I have a ton to say about this game. It's kind of exactly what it sounds like. You are a small kitty in a big city. You go around, you shove things off ledges, you pick up shiny things to give to birds, you catch birds, and you're trying to get home because you fell out of like the windowsill of your home with like a little Disney animated sequence kind of thing, and now you got to get back. It's very short. I beat it in about 2.5 hours, and if I really wanted to, I could have beat it earlier. I just kind of wanted to walk around and do stuff. It's fun. It's charming. The dialogue is nice. It's very cute. The black cat reminds me of my old black cat called Boo Kitty, which, I like that. One thing about this game is that I did find it was rather unpolished. I got soft locked at least once or twice and had to restart. There were like multiple times I was doing a jump and I would just like up warp or down warp for reasons I couldn't understand, which was like disorienting, and 1 or 2 times did mess me up. I clipped into walls a few times, just kind of definitely that kind of indie game level on lack of polish. Not like all indie games are like that, but you know what I mean. Sometimes it's clear, this was a smaller development team and they're making like a 3D game, so now everything's put together.
Part of the charm, really.
Part of the charm sometimes, but I would say for this game, mostly just kind of was a bit of a distraction. I don't know, it was cute, it was good. I just don't have much to say about it. Probably would have been a bit more interested if maybe they made this a bit more of a 3D platformer, because the jumping is very simple in this game. And in some ways, you don't feel really as agile as I would expect a cat to be.
Okay. Here, question. You say the
All
jumping is pretty simple in this game. Have you played Stray? Can you compare?
No, I haven't played Stray, and I don't think I have any ability to do so. I was curious. It's really just you hold down a button to determine how far you want to jump, and you like move your control stick to jump.
Yeah, I think that's more than Stray does, to be honest.
Yeah, basically.
Well, a score one for Little Kitty, I suppose, potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that they could have done a bit more with that kind of thing. The dialogue is very much indie game, you know what I mean? Very self-referential humor.
The quirk, okay.
The quirk.
Yeah.
Like pick up because in this game you can collect hats for your cat to wear, and like at one point you collect like a little like turtle shell hat, and it's a very pained Mario reference in the dialogue. You get it, stuff like that. I was gonna say something else and now I've forgotten. So perhaps I'll just leave it at that unless I remember it.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
All right, yeah, then I guess I'll take over. With my beaten games,
I've gotta wonder how you've been the entirety of New Zealand. That must have been a tough feat.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, it's not the entirety of New Zealand. I've played a game called Wakamarina Valley in New Zealand. So I
I
beat
thought those were
that.
separate games.
No. That's like some region in New Zealand apparently. At least as I understand, it's based on a real region, New Zealand. Recently there was some game showcase thing. I don't exactly remember what it was, but they showed a video, an ad for an upcoming game where you are basically like hiking through digital landscapes and are able to take pictures, like a photography simulator. It's called Lush Foil Photography Sim. Looks really good. Comes out from the day of recording in 3 days. So by the time this episode is out, this Lush Foil Photography Sim is already there. I'm looking forward to that. And so I looked up the developer, and it looks like he already, his name is M4thew, and he already made smaller games beforehand. One of them being this Wakamarina Valley, New Zealand, which is very much a sort of like precursor for this upcoming release, because this is legit just a little virtual hiking simulator with a sort of fully functioning photography camera in your bag, and you can just walk around this lush green little environment based on, again, what I assume is a real location in New Zealand, and take nice little pictures with like almost full control over your camera. There's an actual bit of an objective here, as you can find a stand, a plate with a bunch of pre-taken pictures, and you're basically like tasked to find those spots in the map and take pictures there to unlock another area of the map, another little small area of the map. There's not much after that, so it's a very quick little experience, but it's a cool concept. And I'm really excited to actually see that fleshed out a bit in this upcoming release, which is going to have more than just one location. I think walking simulators obviously get a bad rep a lot of the times. And I guess you could make fun of somebody for doing a digital hiking experience, I guess, instead of a real life hiking experience. But I don't know. I love both. I love both going into a real time forest and taking actual pictures. But it's also nice to have these really pretty virtual environments that are based on locations I will never ever visit, and just being able to explore those in a similar sense. I really vibe with this kind of simple, hiking simulator kind of game. I'm excited for the full thing coming up soon. But that's that.
It sounds.
Yeah, it's a chill time. And much more important, though, I got another excuse to talk about Hatris. For the millionth time, we are back at Hatris.
Oh yeah, Hatris, baby!
At this point, they should sponsor the podcast.
Oh man, that would be awesome. I need more Hatris merch.
Matt could wear a different hat every time to, advertise the game.
For all the different parts of this thing.
Yeah, I never knew until you started talking the Game of the Month thread how many different versions of Hatris there were.
Yeah, I didn't even realize how many there were. Leah pulled some out that I didn't even know about when we were talking on the Discord.
Yeah.
So to recap, for the ones that missed it in the community, for the month of April, Hatris won the vote to be the April Fool's Game of the Month. I'm very, very happy with that. So a couple people are actually playing it and talking about it, and I'm not the only one anymore.
Finally.
Truly living in this month only.
To live is the hat.
Before it goes back to the sad times. But yeah, before that, I went back to the Hatris Game Boy port, which I've said before is my personal favorite of the different ports. Again, all the different versions have some changes in the mechanics and how they flow. Hatris for the Game Boy works best for me. It is straightforward enough for the flow to really work for me. And I researched to see if this actually has like a proper win state. I mentioned Hatris before, many episodes ago, as having beaten it. At the time, I just considered it beaten for having done a round and gotten a score and that's it. I didn't really expect there to be some sort of an actual win condition, as there's rarely in these types of Tetris games and spin-offs. But it turns out Hatris on the Game Boy, as well as some other ports, actually have a proper win condition with a proper win screen. And I decided to chase that. You get a congratulations screen when you beat what was it? Stage 9 of Shop 5, is it, I believe. So you're supposed to beat stage 9 of Shop 5. And I tried to get there truly and genuinely starting from stage 0, Shop 0, whatever, like the first thing. But it clearly, pretty quickly, I realized that would take forever and would be way too hard. And I eventually gave up. And so what I ended up doing to achieve the win screen was basically I took the biggest shortcut without it actually being cheating, because as with most Tetris games, you can just choose on the main menu screen on which stage, on which difficulty to start off on. And so all I did to get the congratulations screen was literally choose the last stage 9's Shop 5, and only try to beat that, which in itself took me multiple hours, multiple days to get done. But I finally saw that winning animation and congratulations screen, which has the
congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. It has the charming, iconic congratulations typo.
Oh no.
No, that's great. I had a good chuckle at that. I love that.
That takes me
It's a
straight
good
back to
sign
living in
that you're a
Japan.
winner.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. And then, so that was basically my goal completed, but I went one step further because I realized there's 5 shops, and each time you beat the final stage of each shop, you get a different cinematic, or whatever you want to call it, a different animation, which in the end tells a complete story of Pajitnov, the game's creator, trying to put the crown on the Statue of Liberty. And, he fails and fails again and again in different ways. And then finally, once you get to the final thing, he actually manages to do it, and you get a congratulations screen. So I did beat, again, going from the main menu straight into those levels. I did beat every last stage of each so-called shop to see all those animations. Again, taking the biggest shortcuts without actually cheating, but that's how I call this game beaten. I think that's in my book, that's the fair way to do it.
It seems to me that, just like we said in the first episode, Tetris does indeed have many secrets.
Oh yeah, honestly, very true. Very, very enigmatic franchise.
Are you going to play the different Hatris versions? I'm really curious if you're going to play the one Leah found that you didn't know about.
I don't know. The thing is, with the 3 main ports, they are all included in Tetris Forever, the collection, which I am using to play these. I don't know if I'm going to hunt down the ROMs for the especially obscure ones, to be honest.
Fake fan.
I feel like I could find the PC Engine one quickly.
Yeah, I guess maybe someday. Right now, my plan is honestly to rather go back to either the US NES version or the Japanese Famicom version. I think more likely the Japanese Famicom version, while the Game of the Month thing is still going on. What I'm not going back to is another Tris game that is included in Tetris Forever. Last winter, they added a game called Welltris to Tetris Forever, which I hadn't yet checked out until this month. Welltris was a release for DOS, made by, I think the developer is called Holobyte Spectrum, if I'm not mistaken, which are the cursed developer that also did a game called Super Tetris, which I talked about a long time ago, which sucks, in my opinion.
It was not super.
Yeah. And Welltris here kinda is in the same ballpark for me, because this one is very much one of those Tetris games that's trying to innovate the idea, but really just adds unnecessary complications to it that don't flow as well at all. In Welltris, you basically look down a 4-wall well, and all the pieces go down the walls and land in the little square space on the bottom, and that's how you like try to make lines to disappear, whatever. It just just doesn't. I don't know. It just didn't work. It was too many walls. I don't know where I'm going with this. It was really strange the behavior of the Tetraminos to me when they end up on the bottom of the well, especially when you're moving them like onto the corner of the walls or whatever. It just none of it felt like, what's the word?
Good?
Natural or whatever. Tetris, the original Tetris is so
Intuitive.
incredibly intuitive. Yeah,
Intuitive is a good word.
exactly. That's the word I was looking for. It's so incredibly intuitive that you basically know exactly what's going on just from looking at it. Welltris, as many of these spin-offs do, just tries to innovate that, but loses this intuitiveness, and that's just what kills it ultimately. Plus, I thought the controls moving the blocks from each wall to another was really clunky, and I just didn't vibe with it at all. So I got it here in the quote-unquote beaten section as a light beat, because again, I could not find an official win condition for this one. This one seems to me like genuinely just you get a score and that's it. So I'm considering it beaten for having played a couple rounds, gotten a high score, and that's it. I actually don't think there's more to this one. So whatever, take it
Makes
with
sense.
a grain of salt. Yeah.
Honestly, it kind of sounds like a lamer version of Tetris 3D for the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, right. Isn't that basically? It's a similar thing, but not entirely. Because in Tetris on the Virtual Boy, right, you don't move the blocks along the walls, but they actually are in 3D space falling down the hole, right? Yeah. So it is still different. Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah,
that could be why
whatever.
it's lamer. That just sucked to be called lamer than Tetris 3D for the Virtual Boy, I realize. But it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. On my Tetris ranking, this one is gonna be very close to the bottom.
I was just about to say, you know what I really want, Matt? I would love to see you make a tier list of all the Tetris games and spin-offs.
I'd love to see that, and maybe even bring it up on the podcast.
I could do that. I have a collection on howlongtobeat.com where I have all the Tetrises and Tetris spin-offs ranked. We'll see how the blocks fall.
Probably we should move on from that and get off the beaten into the retired and paused. Basically, there's a trio of games after me and a friend were playing Smash. My friend was kind of tired. I wasn't doing much. We're like, what if we just kind of messed around with like some 2-player NES games and just kind of looked around and did stuff with that. So the first one we played was the quote classic unquote Ice Climber, which it's bad.
No.
I know it's shocking. I know it's unbelievable to hear, but I don't think Ice Climber holds up.
Damn.
I just see like a YouTube thumbnail with like the little like ice chipping. It's bad right across.
The Ice Climber situation is insane.
Face on the side. This one we only played a little bit together, but I did end up playing more solo. I stopped at stage 14, which is already probably more Ice Climber than anybody should play. But
anybody ever has played.
Nobody's ever been Ice Climber, surely. Although, despite saying this, I figure I might come back to it one day because I can just grab it at any point on NSO. But this game's weird. So the physics are messed up. It's very floaty and all that, but you can get used to that. In a way, it's kind of fun to learn the weird physics. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I don't move left and right until the top of my jump. So you gotta kind of keep that in mind. By far, the biggest issue I have to this game is you clip through blocks so much. If you don't hit that block right in the middle, and in fact, there are multiple times I literally fell through the middle of a block, you just don't land on blocks. And that's very frustrating when there's an enemy that fills in the holes you make if you don't get to him fast enough. So you fall through the block, and then you go back to the start of the level, and guess what? It's filled, so you have to break it again. And now you try to hope that you don't fall through the block again.
God.
And after a certain point, once it got to the point where there's like fast moving platforms you have to use, and you have to time the jumps a lot to get through that, I'm like, I'm not gonna go through this and keep playing this game and keep falling through blocks when I'm jumping into the middle of them. No.
I guess you're constantly on thin ice with this one.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Can't see, but I'm shaking my head right now.
Diallo didn't find that cool at all.
Oh my god.
Ice cold rejection here.
True. I mean, that was a great icebreaker for the retired
Oh my
segment.
gosh.
Oh boy.
But,
no, what have I done?
the next game I played was the much better Balloon Fight, which was actually
I was about
pretty
to say,
enjoyable.
if you called this game bad, we're about to have some beef. So
No, we're not gonna have any balloon beef. I was actually enjoying this one.
Thank goodness.
This is more paused than retired. I played this co-op with the friends, competitive co-op, I suppose you'd call this, because you can attack each other. You know, you're still both trying to get to the end. I don't know what you'd call it. I think I will try to at some point beat this solo because it was actually pretty fun. It's another game where definitely part of the appeal is you are playing with some non-standard physics / game feel. You've got to really rapidly press the button. You have a lot of momentum when you move horizontally, so you have to be careful not to run enemies in a way that'll pop your balloon. It's very simple. It's very like NES black box kind of arcadey fun kind of thing. So if you're looking for anything that's much more substantial, you're not going to find it. But it was enjoyable. It was a good time, unlike Ice Climber.
Is it like Flappy Bird on NES, basically?
I've never played Flappy Bird, so I suppose I don't know.
Did you flap a lot?
You do flap. But I don't know. How do you control Flappy Bird? I don't actually know.
You press the screen to flap once, and that gets you in the air. I think you have more control in Balloon Fight. Of course, Flappy Bird is also basically an auto runner. You always move forward.
Isn't Flappy Bird supposed to be like a hard precision auto runner, basically?
Yeah.
I would almost say Balloon Fight's almost like a really primitive arena fighter in a weird way. You're flying around, you're trying to take out birds without getting taken out yourself. You scroll through this. You can scroll left to right on the screen, like pop out one side of the screen on the other and go out the other side.
This is our first anti-bird game on the cast. That's crazy.
That's right.
One other thing to say about Balloon Fight. So the original Animal Crossing on GameCube had a bunch of NES games in it. And some of my fondest memories of that Animal Crossing game was playing Balloon Fight in Animal Crossing.
Hell
also,
yeah, let's
the
go.
music is certified banger. Like, play that at my funeral.
Yeah.
Bring balloons to the funeral.
Lowered down. Yeah. It is. I do actually remember the music being good, though.
My only connection to Balloon Fight is Wario, where a lot of the mini games were based on that. But I also, my mom had for Game Boy Balloon Kid, which is like the sequel on Game Boy. And so hoping that Nintendo would remember that this exists and like bring it back. But I guess they're really more focused on Balloon Fight than Balloon Kid.
I could see them put Balloon Kid on NSL at some point, honestly.
I would hope so.
I have it downloaded somewhere, but I have not played it yet. I think we can agree from this that Balloon Fight got a lot less of a chilly reception than Ice Climber anyway.
I will rep Balloon Fight any day of the week.
Did Ice Climber never get like a sequel, really?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Nana and Popo were too busy being booked for Smash, so they couldn't return to their Ice Climber roots. They made it big and they forgot where they came from.
Yeah.
Once you hit that tournament.
I will say this. I was actually thinking while playing this game that with games like It Takes Two coming out, having a game like that, but like a mountain climbing platform or something would actually be extremely fun.
I think stuff like that exists.
I'm sure it does. I mean, like if Nintendo wanted to bring back Ice Climber, then that would be a good way to do it.
True.
And then the last game on this retired/pause list was I played a few matches of Super Tennis for the SNES. Not to be confused with just normal tennis for the NES. This is Super Tennis.
Wild.
It has 3D effects, like pseudo 3D effects, which considering it was like an very early SNES game is pretty good. Outside of that, it mostly plays like NES tennis.
That's crazy, dude.
It's like your basic 2D tennis game. You hit the ball back and forth. I wish it used all the buttons more. I feel like there was more room to use different buttons for different shot types. It's definitely no Mario Tennis in that regard. You know, like all these not all, like a lot of 2D tennis games, the perspective is very weird. It's sometimes kind of hard to tell where exactly the ball is. You will lose now and again because of that. Me and my friend got a bit better with it as the matches went on. For some reason, not for some reason, I do know the default matches are like the very lengthy kind, which is interesting. But it's Super Tennis. What else can I say?
I can ask some questions to make you talk more about this amazing game.
Go for it.
I see that you can choose your playing field. What did you prefer? The lawn, the clay, or the, I think concrete is the third one.
Believe that we primarily played on the grass. We were primarily a grass bros.
So you didn't
always go
experience the
play.
game in its full.
No, I definitely didn't play in the concrete. I feel like a lot of times in tennis games they do like playing on the clay courts, but not what we did. Oh, that does remind me. This game has like 20 pickable characters. You can't actually see what they look like until after you've selected them, which is very weird. You just get the names.
So which one was your main?
Was it Anna? Was Anna this one or a different one? Now I have to check.
Did you not pick Matt with the best name?
No.
That's one on the list.
Nah. All right, I played Yuka. That's right.
Of
and
course.
I want to say my friend played. Actually, now that you say that, he might have played Matt.
There you go. We gotta get your friend on the cast. Now that's a person of taste.
True. We gotta get Nate 2004 on here.
Yeah. Let's go, Nate.
The weird thing is, I'm pretty sure the characters do in fact have different attributes too. But like,
really?
Yeah, in fact, looking at the wiki, they definitely do, but you can't tell any of this when you actually select them for sure.
Yeah, I guess that's an instruction booklet thing.
Yeah, this could be in the instruction manual, you're right. It's an SNES game, what am I thinking?
But like, how much variety can they put into this tennis game stat-wise when there's 20 characters? They cannot be all unique.
I feel like they definitely aren't, but I feel like if nothing else, you can probably get at least 5 for a basic tennis game. Someone who's really good at serving, but not as good at other stuff. All-arounder. Good power, low accuracy. Good accuracy, low power. And then, like, fast versus slow. And then just kind of probably mix different versions of those attributes together, you know?
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be surprised in some cases if there's ones that have, like, the same attributes, but one is male and one is female. So that, like, you can do it for either gender, or, you know, you can do matches against each other without mirror matches.
Right. They all have like a little lore line in the instruction manual. This is awesome. I think I have to play Super Tennis.
Yo, maybe we can find a way to play it against each other, Matt. Let's go.
It would be wild.
I'm sure that the SNES must have a you don't have NSO, but I'm sure we can find ways. Although, who knows? Maybe you buy a Switch for Super Tennis.
I highly doubt
specifically
that,
for
brother. Yeah.
That reminds me of how when I built my gaming PC, the first game I played was Among Us.
Nice.
That checks out, to be honest.
I mean, when I think high requirements, I think Among Us.
For sure.
That is all of my retired and paused games.
I've only got 2. These are pretty short. I mean, the first game is Disney Speedstorm. I've been going through everything that I have downloaded in my Epic launcher and just trying to clear out whichever ones I don't care about anymore. It's a fun little racer, but a lot of the racers are locked, and it's got like these gacha mechanics where like you beat a race and then they just randomly give you a new racer. And I assumed that like you should use your like race points or whatever to like open whoever you wanted. And I was like, I don't really feel like playing, hoping to get like the racer I actually want to play with. So I think I played that for like maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes. And then I was like, okay, I've gotten what I want out of this game. Nothing really specific to it other than it just having Disney characters instead of Nintendo characters. So as this little kart racer. So I was like, all right, I don't really care to play this anymore.
I was just gonna say I was briefly curious about Disney Speedstorm as well, but as soon as I saw that it's a free-to-play game and you just knew that's gonna have a ton of in-game purchase shit, I was already skeptical. If
it's
you
a lot
say
of
it's not
buy
worth
this,
it,
buy that. So
yeah, that sealed the deal for me then as well now.
I can definitely see there being an announcement for that within the next 2 years that the servers are closing down and that game is over.
All right.
So, the other one I retired was Snakebird, which is a cute little puzzler. This might be more of a pause thing than anything. I was like, I just wasn't into it at the time, and I was like, I don't really just checking it out. Opened it, found it really fun, and then just kind of closed it after that. So I'll probably come back to that when I have a little bit more time and patience to puzzle out games like that. That's my whole list for this month.
Awesome.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, I don't have too much that I retired or paused either. Starting with one that was mentioned already last episode by Julia. After you mentioned the game with the great title, yeah, you want those games, right? So here you go. Now let's see you clear them. After you talked about it, Leah, I tried this as well. Played a bunch of the different levels. But I cleared a bunch of the different levels, but I did not clear all because this very quickly, developed into not fulfilling its actual potential at all. Again, the whole idea of this is that they took the infamous, annoying, fake or scammy mobile game ads that are all around the internet these days and actually make them properly playable without any malicious element behind it, just regular ass games that portrayed those puzzle games from those ads and whatever. It was a neat idea. But if it fell apart pretty quickly when 90% of the levels for these puzzles just no challenge at all, and they don't actually use the puzzle mechanics to actually build interesting levels, interesting stages.
I suppose that is staying true to the roots, though.
In a way, you could argue that, but it's not a good point for this game. For the most part, I just was bored a lot in certain genres because this is sorted by different puzzle types. Some of these categories felt like levels were literally basically repeating, which was lame. And really felt for most of these categories, they have 50 levels. Sometimes you have 100 levels per category. And let's say the category has 50 levels. It feels like 45 of those levels were just tutorial level filler stuff, and it only actually somewhat gets interesting or challenging at the very end with the last couple levels, and it's just like, damn, that's a lot of nothing. I'm kind of bored. Yeah. So it was interesting to see these iconic and sometimes incredibly strange concepts just there as real games for once. But yeah, it was not interesting enough at all to make me want to play it all. I had one session and then it basically got abandoned immediately. I'm not gonna return to this, I don't think.
You're not gonna clear them?
Yeah. I guess their challenge of wanting to see me clear them, I guess they won. I didn't succeed. But
you thought it would be you thought it was talking about the difficulty. It was actually talking about the enjoyment.
Yeah. They can have that W. It's not whatever. It's not worth the hassle. Another game that I retire a bit more regretfully is Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory. Yeah, last episode I was already talking about the flame fizzling out a bit because there's too much empty space and I'm getting a bit bored because the action is way too sparse between the lengthy side story dialogue. And I think I just have to commit to the decision now and put it, at least for now, on the back burner, maybe completely retiring it. Again, I had a good time playing the original campaign from Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, so I don't really regret it too much. I put plenty of hours into that. Don't really need another one of those if it doesn't like wow me, I guess. Wouldn't say it's a bad game. It just
Who knows? Since I want to play Hacker's Memory at some point, maybe I'll hop back on whenever I get to it. Because I've wanted to play that for a while after the original campaign.
yeah, I would expect that you enjoy it more than I did.
Yeah.
And the final thing that I sort of soft retired. Ailuri, the Red Panda platforming game that I was ranting about in the last episode for really
Yeah.
getting to me while I was failing to beat the final stage of the game due to technical difficulties. I haven't touched it since, and I think I just have to accept the fact that I might have given up on it. At the very least, I'm gonna put it on the burner again, and just maybe when the stars align at some point, I'll get back to it and try again, hoping that the game actually behaves the way it's supposed to, so I'm actually able to beat it after I've already put close to 20 hours into this mess. But probably the best choice for my mental health would be to just ignore it going forward. And never touching it again. But whatever happens for now, it's gonna be out of the rotation. It's a rough ending that I didn't want to see, but maybe it's for the better.
Just leaving that red panda in the fire like that.
Oh my god. Don't do this. If the developers will actually come back, the developers are the ones that abandoned this little creature. I tried to rescue it out of the fangs of this technical mess, but I can only do so much. If the developers actually come back and fix shit finally after they've been silent for quite a while now, then
silent, not a good sign.
I will gladly go back to finish this and save this poor little red panda from this hellish nightmare of a world.
So, real quick, I do want to say something about this game.
Yeah.
Not so much about the game itself. So, remember I said that I have my mom who I like to play games with and stuff and all that?
Yeah.
Well, she also watches the podcast. So when she was watching the podcast last time, your segment where you were ranting about this game seemed like her favorite part, in my opinion. And
yeah.
I want you to know she's really cheering you on to try and finish this game. She wants to see you see it through to the end. She actually asked me if you had beaten it. like 3 or 4 days ago.
She was part of the emotional manipulation.
She was
Ailuri will return 2026.
She's trying to give some tips about beating the boss.
Oh man, I don't think the best tip would help with this one. Oh god.
Man, but
my tip is uninstall.
Yeah.
Oh man, that might be the episode title.
Actually, that's a good one. Man, this playthrough is the roughest shit I've ever experienced, I believe, in the realms of video games. It's really getting up there. My god.
It seems like it.
God
but at least know that if you ever do return to it, that you have the power of my mom cheering you on.
Yeah, I will remember this. With that being said, let's move on to what we are currently playing.
Did we ask Diallo about his?
I have nothing for this week. I haven't retired anything, but I can talk about what I'm playing. So Mario's Picross, still going strong with that one. It used to be my choice of in-flight entertainment. I also play it a lot during my lunch breaks. Sometimes like before bed, I'll do a couple puzzles or two to give an update on how far I am in terms of progression. So similar to Mario Kart, this game has what's called courses. The first one is the Kinoko course, and the second one is the Star course, and they both have 64 puzzles each. I cleared the Kinoko course since last episode, and I'm nearing the end of the Star course. I have 16 puzzles remaining, but yeah, this continues to be a fun game. I'm very hooked on it. This is a bit of a tangent, but it also feels like an appropriate time to give a little confession, which is that a couple episodes ago, and I forget if this is on the episode or if it was like after we finished, and as we're talking like, in the post-episode discussion, but someone mentioned, like jokingly mentioned Minesweeper. And so after we disbanded, I I was like, let me play a little Minesweeper. And I got so hooked on Minesweeper for like a month or so. So apparently the puzzle games had a very strong hold on me. I'm not playing Minesweeper at the moment because I had too much of a chokehold on me. I was wasting too much time doing it, but I'm very susceptible to fall into the trap of getting addicted to these little puzzle games. But yeah, Mario's Picross going strong for me still.
I was gonna say, once you beat Mario's Picross, are you gonna move on to Mario's Super Picross?
If it's available on NSO, I'm down to give it a try. Yeah.
It is.
Okay, yeah, I probably will do it. I'm enjoying this a lot. And I had this one moment where I was like, oh my gosh, Diallo, why are you spending like all these hours on Picross? Like your backlog is screaming. What about those RPGs that you're going to be? But I realized, Picross is just as solid a game as any other game. It's bringing me joy, and that's what like playing video games is supposed to be about, isn't it? So I feel like if I'm enjoying Picross right now, I am going to just, ride this wave and see where it takes me.
Let me tell you, I so agree with that line of thinking. It's not about clearing the backlog. It's about having fun. It's a video game.
Wholesome gamer moment.
Part of me was like, oh, you should be playing like serious games or whatever. But I was just like, this is a game too. Like, let's not forget.
Picross is a serious puzzler, I would say.
The other game that I've been playing is a game called Felvidek. So I purchased this is another game that came out almost exactly a year ago, and I purchased it. I guess yesterday would be exactly half a year ago, and my playthrough has been a little bit broken. So I started playing this game. I bought it October 11th, played it for a little bit that day, and then put it down accidentally for 6 months, which is definitely not the ideal way to play video games, but unfortunately that's how a lot of my video game playthroughs go, because I don't know, I get distracted very easily. I just have an inability to remember what I don't know, this happens to me a lot, where like I'll play a game, and I'll be like, well, this is really cool, I can't wait to play more of it, and I just will never get back to it. I could write an entire list of games that I've done that for. I've resumed playing it as of this week, and because there's been this like 6-month gap in between, I'm a bit fuzzy on some of like the details of the plot. I watched like a bit of a let's play to sort of get a bit of a refresher, but some of the finer details are still a bit fuzzy to me. But I will give the best overarching summary that I can, which is that it's a game where you're playing in 15th century Slovakia. You play an alcoholic knight, and there's this cult that's summoning demons, and you're trying to get to the bottom of this whole nefarious plot that they're hatching. It's an RPG maker game, so kind of like, turn-based combat and everything. What drew me to this game is, once again, the art style. This one, I don't know if you could call it ditherpunk, but at the very least, if it's not ditherpunk, there's definitely ditherpunk adjacent. So it looks very similar to like Who's Lila, with the like almost monochromatic with like a with minor accent colors thrown in now and then, like very pixelated graphics, very like stylized to look old fashioned, even though it was created in 2024. Also, there are some like 3D cutscenes that look very much, very, very similar to the 3D cutscenes in Who's Lila, and that you have these like very chunky polygonal models in the world. It reminds you of like playing like old like RuneScape or stuff like that. But yeah, I saw the art style and it immediately grabbed my eye. I was like, oh, I have to maybe give this one a try. I think, and again, it was 6 months ago that I made this decision, so I'm not exactly sure if it's like factored into me deciding to buy this game or not. But I think another thing that made me take the leap and decide to purchase this game is that the plot kind of reminds me of this book that I read last year, which has quickly become one of my favorite books of all time, which is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman, which takes place in medieval France in a world that's like been there's been like a plague, and there's all these demons running about and everything. I feel like I saw some similarities between the story of Felvidek and the story of Between Two Fires, and I was like, oh, this is like kind of like the kind of atmosphere that I like. But yeah, I'm going through the game right now. I think I'm about a little over 3 hours in at this point, and it's a short game, so I'm kind of nearing the end probably. I like that it doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a lot of like very silly moments scattered throughout the game. I will say, if you do want to play this game, my advice would be to save frequently, because it's very, very easy to have your party get wiped out. In most battles that you face, you end up being like outnumbered, and it's very easy for the enemies to like stun you and overpower you and just like wipe you out, and you'll lose your progress. I would save judiciously if you're playing this game.
As someone who is already an obsessive saver, this sounds like a good game.
Yeah. If you're an obsessive saver, then you'll do well here. But yeah, apparently I'm in my era of playing 5-hour monochromatic games featuring alcoholic protagonists. So we'll see if this trend continues next episode or not. But
gotta find your niche.
I gotta say, Diallo, I never heard the term ditherpunk before, but that is that I've recognized like the style. I do like that, so it was apparently already on my wish list. But thank you for introducing me to the term as well.
Yeah, we mentioned it before with
Who's Lila? Yeah, Oberdin and Who's Lila.
That too, yeah.
I remember
True.
Oberdin. Although I don't remember calling it Ditherpunk is the thing. I just remember us saying we liked the art style.
It's interesting to me that you mentioned it's an RPG Maker game. I did not catch. Like I've seen this game before, but I didn't realize it was that. The art style is so unique.
Yeah. It just definitely looks like unlike other RPGs.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Also, the art style is also a little bit similar to the one in Aviary Attorney, so I'm really in a niche right now, apparently.
I mean, let the good times roll, am I right?
Yeah. And then eventually I'll get back to my mountain of abandoned JRPGs. But
Sure.
the stack of games that I said I would beat in 2024 and never played.
Just a couple rounds of more Minesweeper.
Yeah, I can't touch it anymore. It's like I had to like forcefully stop myself from playing Minesweeper because I was losing too much time to it.
I mean,
It's so
it tells
good,
you how
yeah.
good design that Minesweeper is. That in 2025, 40, 30 years after it was made, with probably no alterations, people will still get addicted to Minesweeper.
Yeah.
It's the Tetris of Windows games.
Sure.
All right, shall I pick someone to go next, or does anyone want to volunteer?
I think I have many of them, so I can go. Technically, I haven't been playing the actual game, but I've been playing PowerWash Simulator, but I only care about the DLC. So I waited until this was on like a crazy sale just so I can get the 2 DLCs plus the base game for the amount of like money that the game would usually cost. So I played the Spongebob and the Shrek DLCs. And I really want the Wallace and Gromit one, but that wasn't on sale at the time, so that will have to wait. I didn't enjoy playing the career mode when this was on Game Pass, when I had Game Pass, but there was only 2 levels that were just like, it started and I was like, oh, I have to clean this entire thing. Like I was used to just cleaning like a car or something. And then it was just like, here's an entire location, clean it. And I was like, oh, okay. But it's a really good, I understand why people like it now because it's a really good like podcast game or like, you know, something to just have on when you're listening to like some audio book. That was like a week of my life where I just play that. And I think I probably put enough hours into it that it looks like I've played the career, but not really. Just the DLCs.
I mean, who needs a career when you have Shrek?
Yeah. But the funny thing is, I think in the career you can unlock other tools to use. So basically, I only use like the first nozzle that you get to play this. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, are there other ones that I could unlock in the career thing? So I basically did this on hard mode using the only nozzle that you get, like the basic nozzle that you have in the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
That's great, honestly.
Them's fighting herds, which I believe I only heard about because somebody mentioned that it was free on...
Oh, boy.
You see, that's what you've done to me. You've unleashed the pun monster.
Yeah.
Once he heard the puns, it was all over.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I've derailed us.
I assumed from the title that it would just be a regular like fighting game clone. So I was like, oh yeah, it'll just be like, you know, forest animals and you fight or whatever. That seems like a fun afternoon of gaming. There's like a whole story to it, and it's not even just like Mortal Kombat story where you have to fight your way through. Like there's like a platforming and like adventure game aspect to it. So I got stuck on that for longer than I had anticipated that one day that I played it. So I will definitely be returning to that.
Hell yeah.
That was another one of my epic games that I was just like, oh yeah, this is here. Might as well just download this, and figured I would install, play, and then uninstall. But no, that one's sticking around for sure.
I don't know if you or anyone else here actually knows the backstory to this game, which I do.
Share.
I think you mentioned this off mic before, yeah.
This was originally a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fighting game, actually.
Yeah.
And the character design is done by Lauren Faust, who did the, Friendship is Magic series. And then Hasbro kind of got involved, and some other stuff happened that had to kind of get made into its own original thing. I feel like
get the serial numbers shaved off.
Yeah, exactly. And then, unfortunately, I think what happened is that, if I recall, then their publisher they got afterwards kind of screwed them over some of their stuff too. which was unfortunate. There was going to actually be even more release added to it. Some more DLC, some more story stuff.
Damn.
But the publisher, I think, just kind of fired Modus Games. That's who it was. Yeah, they kind of just fired them. Just bye. So that was unfortunate. But
yeah, it's a good little game. They should be proud of what's
They
out there
should.
anyway.
A lot of horsing around behind the scenes.
I was going to get it free on Epic, and then I forgot.
Oh, damn.
One day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we could have them fighting herds matches.
Yeah. Next, I will say I'm gonna jump over to Helldivers 2, which is a game that my nephew really wants me to play. He's been trying to get every member of our family to play this because he knows that it's like our humor. So he gave me the PS5 edition, but we don't have PlayStation Plus or whatever it's called, Gold. So I got this last summer for PC. So I started that up, basically just made it through the tutorial, and so far I'm like, all right, whenever he's online, we'll play together. Otherwise, I don't think it's not really my type of game. He's really more of the shooter person than I am, but it's a fun family game, I guess, for my family to play.
Something for the whole family.
Yeah. Yeah, so Infinity Nikki, I was playing also on Epic, but my computer is kind of not getting up there in age, but it's starting to struggle just to play Infinity Nikki. And I remembered that Infinity Nikki is also on PS5. So I put it up on my PS5 and it was working fine. So you can log in and all your save is there. So I was like, cool, we're going to start playing that on there. So I was playing that last Saturday. There's like a friend group of mine that's really invested in this game and have been playing it and like have all the outfits and like really trying to like grind for different things. And I was like, I just got to the second town, so I'm just kind of very casually playing this like gotcha game. So
right, yeah.
Also playing Ghost of Tsushima and Nier Automatica. Nier Automatica is the game of the month, and it's been on my backlog, so I just kind of pushed it up. Ghost of Tsushima, I spoke about last time. It's just very much of a slog, a very gorgeous looking game, but it's very much of a slog to get through. So I've been doing that in like 30-minute pieces here and there. Nier Automatica, I just only started it, so I don't really have much to say on it, other than I'm excited to finally really dig into it after tonight, maybe.
I saw that Nier Automata was Game of the Month, and I was pretty excited about it. I played it 2 years ago, so I think too recently to warrant a replay. But I'm considering, while everyone's playing Automata, I might go ahead and play Replicant. We'll see what happens. Which is a game that's also sitting my pile of neglected RPGs. I played the first week like 10-ish hours and then forgot about it for I guess a year now. But I've been wanting to get back to it at some point. It feels like it would be a good excuse to do so. But I love Nier Automata. I'm excited to hear your thoughts as you continue through it. Maybe I will dabble in it a bit more this month. We'll see what happens.
I would have absolutely joined Game of the Month for Automata, but problem is I don't own it. I really want to own it, but I don't own it.
Yeah, that tends to be a bottleneck when you want to play.
Yeah, it makes things a bit difficult, doesn't it?
And the last thing I've been playing is Hatris, which is the other game of the month.
Heyo.
And I figured since Hatris is pretty decent game, and the internet archivists that they're out there in the internet lands were able to like preserve most versions of this game across like Flash players and stuff like that. So
all across space and time, Hatris remains.
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and track down. It's a simple enough game. I can probably play a few rounds of each game and each version of it and find out which ones I enjoy the most. So I played the NES version, the Game Boy version, the Famicom, the arcade, the TurboGrafx. I can't find the mobile version, which is really what I really want to play, but can't seem to find that somewhere.
So you might say that you've played Hatris, and Hatris.
Yes.
Damn. So many hats. So which one is your favorite so far?
It was more than a Hatris hat trick.
Oh my gosh.
I would say I think the TurboGrafx one has surprisingly the best graphics.
They're turbo graphics after all.
Yeah, I like that power up the most because it's the funniest one where like there's like a little fireball comes down, but if the person that you're gonna use it on doesn't have a hat, the hair burns.
Okay.
So, but it only burns like the amount, like the top collection of hats on the person. So, like if they have like the wizard hat, 2 bowler hats, and then like the Robin Hood hat, it's only going to burn the Robin hat. So it was a little bit more of a strategy to be like, okay, which one of these I need to get rid of so I can clear out. So that one's good. The arcade was kind of fun. I like those graphics as well. It's the only reason that Game Boy gets pushed to my 3rd spot, because otherwise I think Game Boy is actually the one that's the most responsive when it comes to the controls too.
Very important for this kind of game.
Yeah.
The only thing is that like with the Game Boy, the NES, and the Famicom, it's really hard to like, not that it matters as long as like the hats are pretty easy to tell apart from each other. But it's also really hard to know what I'm looking at for most of these. So, like, the graphics are so tiny that I'm like, I don't know, it's that tiny, small, flat one. Like, who knows what it's supposed to be, you know?
Okay.
So, until, like, they get a little bit more into, like, the more obvious shapes, like the wizard hat and, like, the sombrero and the cowboy hat, where it's just like, oh, okay.
The Game Boy one has the fireball ability too, though. No people under the hats to burn.
I've only seen the samurai power up in the Game Boy.
Yeah, the thing is, in Hatris Game Boy, when you get one Hatris clear, you get a fireball that you can use whenever. But if you don't use the fireball and get 3 of those, that then turns into the samurai helmet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's also in the TurboGrafx one, there's also a blue fireball, which I wasn't sure if that did. I was panicking when it showed up, so I didn't get to actually see what it did. So,
Fuck, a blue fireball, awesome. What do I do?
But I don't know if I'm assuming because it's blue that it would freeze them in place instead of burn them away. But if it's just a regular fireball, I don't know why it's a different color.
I was thinking it might burn more than one away at the same time, but I guess it wouldn't do that.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
that's
like a super powered fireball.
Yeah, because blue fire is usually like hotter.
Yeah, that I will find out and I will report back when I get around to it again.
Keep us updated.
Yeah,
I will say this is another in the pile for why Matt does need to go to TurboGrafx Hatris and see what's up.
I guess so. Yeah.
You know, the most iconic TurboGrafx games.
Of course. Hatris and Guts and Diener. That's what everyone thinks of.
Household name, right there.
Yeah.
Household name, just don't ask how to pronounce it. I don't have many games, but I might ramble a lot about the one I basically have, so how about Matt goes next?
I can't wait to hear your Wordle update later, but okay.
Oh, I actually just finished today's Wordle during the podcast.
Fuck off, okay.
I did. Wow. Got in 4.
The most recent update.
Live on pod.
Breaking news, right? Live on air. Okay. I have played not Wordle. I'm still playing Redout, the amazing high quality anti-grav racer, and there's still so much more content to go through. I haven't even gotten through half of it. Okay, to be fair, the campaign works in a way that you have a whole list of different racing events with all sorts of different gimmicks or whatever, but you can basically pick and choose what you do. I don't think you actually have to clear everything to beat the game. At some point, you just unlock certain events that eventually lead to you gaining some sort of win screen and credit roll or whatever, which is actually something I love, that you do not have to do everything. There's some event types, some race types in this game that I just don't care about because the rules and gimmicks just don't vibe with me or whatever, and I can just plainly skip them, no problem, no consequence. It's awesome. Again, like I haven't even gone through half of the entire thing yet, and I'm still having a blast. There's still so many new environments with new track designs that I haven't even seen yet. I'm still completely in the hype. Still absolutely loving this experience. And I've also, now that I have a bit more time in this game, I also really like noticing how the different track designs of certain environments really have like some unifying philosophy in what they offer and what vibe they give off, what flow they have. So each environment, which I believe every environment has 5 tracks. And each environment really feels like a different thing. They play with gravity, they play with different track types, they play with sort of like off-road sections more in some than in others. And you're driving on the moon, you're driving on Mars, you're driving on Europa underwater and stuff like that. There's so many cool set pieces, which makes up a big part of the appeal of any racing game, in my opinion. It's a gorgeous game. It plays like a dream. It's one of the best anti-grav racers still that I've played yet. That's my Redout update.
I mean, it still sounds like you're pretty damn hype about it, which is good.
Yeah, it's a blast. Rarely had so much fun with a game like in recent times, to be honest. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Is there a difference between Redout and Redout 2? Like, is there like new courses or something?
Yeah, Redout 2, from what I understand, is a full-blown sequel with all new content.
Oh.
I haven't played it yet, but that's what I understand about it, yeah.
That's promising.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that, but again, I'm gonna have still plenty of hours in this first one.
Yeah.
Another game that I've started playing a little bit is AEW, Fight Forever. AEW stands for All Elite Wrestling. It's like one of the bigger professional show wrestling brands next to the big one, WWE. Yeah, I've fallen back into a hobby or interest of my younger self. I've gotten back into show wrestling and I've watched a bunch of stuff in that regard. But I've made an effort to not focus on the big name of WWE this time and actually try to branch out into smaller brands. And again, AEW is one that's out there, that's still big in sense of production value and like what they do. But again, it's not the big bad. Yeah, exactly. So it was actually really interesting to go into a wrestling circle where I don't know most of the people, but I guess luckily a lot of former WWE athletes actually are now working with AEW, which is a fun thing, including Adam Copeland, who wrestled under the name Edge in WWE, who was always my favorite wrestler of all time when I was younger or whatever. And it's really cool to see him active again as an old man in AEW. That's kind of a fun thing. And while I watched some of those shows, whatever, I also picked up this one and only official video game that's out right now. Sports games are always littered with DLC and in-game purchase stuff and whatever, so I rarely actually give them a shot. But with this one, I managed to get it on a good sale price. I got the DLC with my favorite wrestler in it. That's good. That's all fine. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. And the game is developed by Yuke's Inc., I think is the name, which is basically the standard developer of all major wrestling games in previous years. They also make the WWE games. So gameplay-wise, it's really not too unfamiliar.
I was trying to think. I thought didn't Ukes get taken off of the WWE games, if I recall, because like 2K19 was such a shit show?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, people regard every WWE game a shit show.
Well, but it was like really bad.
Yeah, might be. I'm not like too up to date.
Oh no! It was 2K20 that was the really bad one. That's right, where they like didn't even make one the next year because it was so bad.
Oh, yeah, okay. But yeah, that's a lot of the mechanics are familiar from when I played the older WWE games with my high school bros or whatever. So wasn't too hard to get back into it. And it's a decent time, though it's also flawed. Between every match, they try to do some light like RPG strategy stuff where you decide how your wrestler, well, I'm speaking of the campaign, where you decide how the wrestler spends their days between matches, which grants you some stat updates, stat boosts or whatever. And each of those come with like corny like cutscenes and whatever. A lot of them repeat, and it's not as interesting. Like mechanically, it's not that deep. And seeing those cutscenes again and again, even if you have the possibility to skip most of them, it's still just like a chore to have all these button presses between matches. I couldn't really do without all of that. Plus, there's this mechanic where you can upgrade stats of your wrestler, but that only works in the campaign if you play with a wrestler that you created yourself. And because I bought the DLC with my favorite wrestler and really wanted to play as him, I started the campaign with him, and that completely locks out this entire upgrade system. So you cannot.
That seems really stupid.
Do any of that. Yeah. Apparently, the points that you collect that would be used for the upgrade stuff are later then turned into in-game currency to buy, I don't know, outfits or whatever. But who the fuck cares, right?
So like using the wrestlers who aren't traded characters is just grinding.
Yeah. It's rough. It's a bummer. I wish they would have told me that beforehand, but no, because now I'm like in the middle of the campaign and I'm not gonna start again with like a.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sucks, but whatever. The fights themselves are pretty decent, pretty fun. If you played one wrestling game, you kind of know what you're getting into. There's some quirks that are annoying, like NPC wrestlers attacking you before the bell even rings and you can't even move yet. Like dumb nonsense like that.
That would be very funny if that was like a heal mechanic, though.
If it was an intentional thing, I would actually respect it, but it doesn't seem like it is. I don't think so, at least. And I've had multiple matches where I was really like dominating the match, really like giving my enemy all the punches, whatever, even performing the signature and finisher moves and whatever. And then right as I do that, they just turn around and decide to win and just pin me immediately for no good reason.
That does sound like wrestling sometimes.
That's true. But again, I don't think that's intentional. I genuinely feel that's just a bit of the in-game mechanics being wonky, and that can be frustrating.
Emergent gameplay.
Yeah. But it's again, it's a solid wrestling title. I wouldn't say it's like amazing, but it's for the most part scratches that itch. Another small, tiny little game that I've started playing is simply called Purple. Which is a mobile game by a person that has made plenty of little mobile puzzle games, which are all just named after a color. The name is Bart Bonte.
Yeah, I know what these are.
The name's Bonte. Bart Bonte.
They have put out over the years, I think, close to 10 small puzzle mobile games, all again named after one specific color. And they all are just a variety of random puzzles without much instruction or without much depth. You basically each level you just get presented some graphics, some screen on your phone, and you just have to figure out what it wants you to do by trial and error. And it could be all sorts of stuff. It's a very simple puzzle game that doesn't like ask too much of you. It's just a fun little thing to deal with while you're, I don't know, between something or like on your way to work or whatever on your phone. It's a perfect little casual phone puzzle game. And it's all free. There are a bunch of them. I think I've played all of the ones that came beforehand, and Purple really just steps like into the same footsteps, does the same thing, the same solid, simple puzzling. So nothing more to say there.
Apparently the highest rated on the store is blue.
It would be interesting to actually like see how they compare these games. I never really thought much about them next to each other.
Yeah, I think I've played red and yellow, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I can't wait for their final game, Rainbow.
That would actually be kind of a funny finale, yeah. But yeah, that's that. A much more interesting game is Murky Divers, which I've been playing on PC in co-op with my buddy, who I've basically played most co-op games with that I mentioned in previous episodes. Murky Divers is kind of in a similar subgenre as Phasmophobia and Content Warning, and there was another one that came out recently, I think.
Is it Repo?
Oh,
Whatever.
yeah. Repo, yeah.
I think Repo is
Sketchy's
also in that
Contract.
thing. Yeah, I don't even know what that is, but it's probably also there.
Repo definitely is like in that style.
Yeah, all of these games where you and your friends or whatever explore some environments to do a task, get out of there, and oftentimes with some horror element or whatever. In Murky Divers does that in a completely underwater environment, which is basically the reason why I wanted to play this a lot. Me and my friend, we played Phasmophobia and Content Warning a ton, but at some point it just gets stale. Murky Divers feels really fresh with the underwater theme. Not only is it fun for me because it triggers my thalassophobia a lot, which is like the phobia of like deep water and whatever.
Right.
But it's also, I love exploring underwater settings, and it's really cool to swim through all these ancient ruins or like flooded cityscapes or whatever, and really dive into the deepest chambers of these murky waters and whatever. And then, of course, there are some weird creatures roaming around. It's all like a roguelite gameplay loop where you unlock currency to get upgrades and whatever. When you die enough times or fuck up in some other ways, it gets reset, of course. You know, the usual that comes with these sort of games. We've played a couple sessions so far, but we're really enjoying it. It's just a fun co-op thing with a lot of asymmetrical gameplay elements as well, especially when you use your subway to get from location to location, because that's a thing as well. And you really do have one person steering the thing, the other person has to use the sonar to see what actually is around your subway and stuff to guide them. It's a really nice thing. Also, really like that there's still humor. Like it's a kind of like spooky game, but there's a lot of like tongue-in-cheek humor. One of the upgrades is literally a hamster that you can buy, and when you then get lost somewhere deep in the depths of the waters, you can like let this hamster loose, and he shows you the way out by farting out hazelnuts that make then a trail that you can follow. Yeah, literally with a fart sound and everything. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Glorious.
Who let the hamster out?
Yeah. I think his name is also Agent Nuts, so it's a whole ass
Agent
character.
Nuts.
And it's truly
That's
beautiful
nuts.
when this cutesy little hamster just straight up runs into some horrific monster and dies. It's quite the emotional ride every time. But yeah, lots of fun mechanics of the different creatures, lots of cool environments, very satisfying gameplay loop. We're both still very interested in continuing that.
And now there's the very interesting last one on here.
Yeah, the final masterpiece that I've picked up to play, to spend my precious time on this planet, is something called Hooters Road Trip on the PlayStation 1. I don't remember if we mentioned this on air or off air, but this did come up. Hooters Road Trip came up as a joke, I think, because it is a licensed game, but it has such a weird brand to it.
I was very serious about it.
And because I had it on my radar already as such an obscure little oddity, I decided to actually try it. And I started literally today before the recording session, basically. Hooters Road Trip is a racing game with the branding of the infamous US chicken wing restaurant chain, where every waitress is in like a skimpy outfit. Not sure why this exists other than advertising, but the racing is actually not too bad besides some wonky vehicle handling. If you would take out all of the loading screens and menus with all the Hooters branding, this could like pass as a regular, standard, decent racing game on the console.
That's shocking, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, which really like makes it feel like it might be a case of this racing game already existing and the Hooters people just deciding to purchase that game and slapping their advertising on it or something. It could be the case.
I really quickly just typed in Hooters Road Trip. Art assets found in the game's file suggest the PlayStation release, which originally also to be titled Freewheel in USA, with the Hooters license later added on.
There you go. We already confirmed the game theory. Let's go.
Let's go.
Totally checks out. As a racing game, I'm totally like down to keep playing this until I finish the campaign or whatever. Because it's a decent racing game if you get used to the very like sensitive, clunky car handling, but it's fun. It's cool too. I'm already a sucker for racing games on a console, and the environments that you travel through during this road trip through the USA actually gives nice visual variety in terms of the locations that you pass and whatever. So I'm all here for it. The whole Hooters shit around it is just funny and weird. But yeah,
It's a real hoot.
it's a real hoot, and this is how I learn about the geography of the United States. So
Honestly, now it makes me want to see you try Cruising USA.
Cruising USA is on my list for someday as well, but of course Hooters has priority. Did you know that there's a city or a town in Texas called Corpus Christi?
Yes.
Yes.
And did you
It's
know that
ones.
there's a Hooters?
I
Doesn't
didn't
surprise
know
me.
there was a Hooters there. Because I believe Corpus Christi is where the TCU College plays football. That's where they're located.
Oh my god, okay. It just feels like I realized this through this game. And I thought like a Hooters, a seedy little restaurant with scantily clad waitresses in a place called Corpus Christi, like the body of Christ, is like the most American thing I could imagine. Like that clash
It's
of things.
very
It seems
American.
so United States. Yeah. Gave
Oh,
me a good
right.
chuckle.
And Corpus Christi is where Bobby Labonte was born, and he was one of my favorite NASCAR racers growing up. That's probably the other place
there
I
you go.
remember it. Sorry.
So
I just
you come
remembered
for the
that.
podcast. You come to the podcast for gaming rants, and you get Corpus Christi trivia. So there you go.
If you're from Corpus Christi, let us know. Send us an email.
Yeah, let us know.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Apparently, it still exists.
Yeah.
The Hooters in Corpus Christi. Yeah,
Yeah.
I googled that. Yeah.
Nice.
On the Hooters website, you can also look for UFC events in the area.
Oh, let's
So-
fucking go, bro.
So it ties right in with the AEW. It's all coming together now.
Yes. Oh my god.
Also,
I need to
I
go
gotta
to the
say,
US.
Corpus Christi sounds like it'd be a good name for a video game, frankly.
Sure, yeah. Some dark religious adjacent horror game or whatever.
The sequel to Indika, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's my stuff done.
So for me, most of the games were mostly just me playing like my usual multiplayer, casual, whatever things. Like I finished Wordle. As I mentioned, I in fact finished today's Wordle in the middle of the podcast. Got it in 4. Was one letter away from getting in 3, but you know how it is sometimes. I played like a few matches, about I guess 20 matches of Smash Brothers with a friend. I did some grinding in Arknights because pretty soon Lapland Altar is coming out, and I really want to be able to roll a pretty good amount for her. Very important. I actually kind of got lost in all my real life stuff that it was coming so soon, but it'll work out either way. One reason I don't have a lot of games this week is that a specific game has taken a lot of my time recently. I had meant to mention this with Little Kitty Big City, but due to some circumstances, after my mom's phone broke, we had to scrounge together enough stuff to get a new phone. A benefit is, I assume, because of the everything is an Xbox ad campaign they're doing, it came with a free month of Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've been playing Persona 3 Reload because I really wanted to play Reload. As people who watched the first episode remember, Persona 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. It's a game I consider very important to me. It does a lot very good with the story. I mean, I had to play Reload at some point. I have played 36 hours, 30 minutes, give or take, of Reload already, so hopefully I can keep that pace up and finish it quick enough that I'll have enough time for more Game Pass games. Persona 3 Reload. This has been really good, but it's really interesting to play as somebody who played Persona 3 FES 15 years ago, because it feels very side grady adjacent. It does some things a lot better, it does some things worse kind of thing in a way that ultimately feels like it balances out to be so far around as good as the original. But I would say vibes, for example. The original release definitely has, in my opinion, so far better vibes. The dungeon design is more psychedelic and dark in the original, for example. Unfortunately there's not as much blood as before. There's not as much funky colors, wild disco backgrounds, stuff like that is the best way I would put it. I feel like the visual design of the dungeons was superior in the original. The actual dungeon crawling may be a bit better, but it feels pretty similar, honestly. The original has like these really good animated cutscenes that can be very dark, very well directed. They have a very good sense of style. And unfortunately, one of my biggest disappointments in Reload is a lot of those are replaced with in-engine cuts. Reload looks really good in engine, but it's definitely just not the same. It's not the same fluidity. It loses some of the charm, especially like with the first Persona summoning scene. That's like the biggest one I would think of for that. It's very good, very crisp, very well done in the original. The Reload version it's good, but it's just not. It's just kind of like good. It's not. It's the original was like amazing. This one's just good. Trust me when I say I'm going to be rambling about this one because. Yeah, the UI in the original had some elements I enjoyed, like in the original the menu is a gun, and the different menu options are like bullets in the chamber because the evokers are like gun shaped, that's how you summon your persona. But the UI in this one is really, really nice though. The colors are really good, there's a lot of little touches, like shattered glass over the eye that changes based on the character that you're looking at that time, so it kind of looks like they're melding with the main character. Like there's kind of almost a drowning sub-theme in a way, which is good, cool. I like the visual style of it for sure. There's a lot of good quality of life change. In the original, if somebody calls you up for the time management on a Sunday, you have to accept or decline immediately, which a lot of times could kind of mess you up and would a lot of times I would like save before Sunday so I could decline, see my options, and then reload and accept it. In this one, you can just wait until later. You don't have to do any of that kind of nonsense. You can leave the dorm and come back more easily without accidentally advancing time or messing up your time management. Because in the original, like if you left the dorm for the night, you couldn't come back if you wanted to do something at the dorm instead. So you really had to. Again, sometimes I would save, and then I would come out, and if I didn't decide what I wanted to do, I would unsave, go back to my previous save. It's a lot more crisp and clean in that regard. They've added a lot of cool character stuff, which is really nice. Each character has 3 new character scenes that are like something, an activity kind of thing. Gardening, watching a movie, or boxing, cooking, all that kind of stuff. And I really like having more time and more stuff with these characters because this is probably my favorite Persona cast overall. And the writing is still very good. There are some parts I feel, if I'm being nitpicky, maybe lose the thread a little bit, but nothing major, nothing where somebody's just blatantly out of character or anything. Mostly just there are parts that maybe feel slightly more Persona 5-y, I guess is how I would put it. But like there's study sessions and the group study sessions and everybody interacts off of each other. There's new cutscenes. One of the main antagonists gets significantly more scenes, which I'm actually a bit divided on in a way, but until I get further in the game, I don't want to say too much because I kind of have to see all the stuff there. As you may notice from the way I'm rambling about it, I'm really enjoying my time. I've been playing some day. The first day I played it like 11 hours total because I activated Game Pass past midnight, played for multiple hours, went to bed, woke up, played all day because I didn't have any other responsibilities that day.
Let's go.
Kind of
The true
thing.
gamer life.
It's a true game. It was the true gamer life, man. Let me tell you.
The ideal life.
But
Yeah.
this is something where like 10 out of 10 if I finish it, unless things severely go off the rail. One thing I'm disappointed by is this game is much easier than the original, which is not going to be something everyone finds a downside, because the original was definitely difficult in a way that not everybody's going to enjoy. But I did always enjoy the original, having almost like more of a Shin Megami Tensei level of difficulty. Whereas the Persona games, even like 3 is easier than a lot of true SMT games. But they've generally gotten easier with each installment. I was hoping they would still have some of the ass-kicking difficulty. This one, not so much. I've only game overed once, and it was kind of just getting unlucky, basically.
Are there no difficulty settings or something?
There are difficulty settings. I start on normal. I bumped it up to hard after a while, but even on hard, it's not that difficult. You can't do the hardest setting if you didn't start on it, because they don't want people just pushing to it right at the end kind of thing. So I haven't seen what Merciless is like. Maybe that's really hard or something. I mean, to give you an idea, when I played hard mode in the original FES, I actually couldn't finish the game at the time because I was not good enough to beat one of the bosses. But normal mode was a really nice difficulty. So on the flip side, this game has party control. The original release did not. And while Portable had party control, Portable just also missed a lot of stuff that gave the game a lot of texture. Honestly, this is the kind of game where I enjoy the sound of walking around, and I intentionally avoid using fast travel a decent chunk.
Because of the sound of walking around?
Unironically, yes, because there's good background sounds, kind of like city chatter, school chatter, the sound of walking around. It adds a vibe. It doesn't mean I always avoid fast travel. I think part of it might be when I first played this game, way back in 2010, I actually didn't realize fast travel existed.
Okay. Yeah.
So I probably just got used to walking around kind of thing, so it feels familiar. But yeah, this is really, really good. I would say this is I will probably slightly prefer the original, but I suspect for most people this game will be more accessible and probably more enjoyable. Everybody should play Persona 3. I'm going to say that, so I hope everybody does at some point. I doubt this podcast necessarily.
Do you really think everybody would enjoy it?
No, I don't think everybody would enjoy it.
All 6 billion people on Earth will enjoy it.
All the babies, I'm sure they'll get some of it. I think everybody should give it a try. It doesn't. Not everybody's gonna like everything. That's just the reality of the situation. But this is the kind of game, Reload or the original, that has a high enough quality. I think everyone should give it the good college try, as it were. And if they don't like it, that's fine.
It's 60 hours, man. God damn.
Oh, I mean, I'm definitely going to be over 80 instead, because I'm definitely going to be getting that main extras, doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're walking. Of course, you're going to get over 80.
That's true. All the walking too. I mean, to give you an idea, I will go to different parts of the city to see if there is new NPC dialogue, kind of thing. So I'm definitely going to get time. I mean, one thing I like about this game actually is in the original, there's no way to tell if there's new dialogue for an NPC or a character in the overworld. In this game, they changed the text. They have a little signal if they're talkable, and they change it from blue or gray depending if they have anything new to say or not.
Yeah.
So that is actually really helpful for me, who is getting all the dialogue. But seriously, very good game. I will most certainly be talking about this more next time as well. I almost said next week, but we're not doing a podcast next week. And just in general, I'm going to say I'm hoping with this Game Pass Ultimate to try some games I wouldn't be able to do. And me playing Reload so much is one reason I didn't get maybe to some other games I was planning. But probably for the next month, it's going to be a bunch of Game Pass games. And hopefully I'll have some outside of my wheelhouse stuff to talk about.
Hell yeah.
Exciting.
We should probably get on instead of me, because I could definitely ramble more, but I don't think I should just ramble forever.
No! As a quick insert update, I've played Water while you were renting, and I've only cleared it with 5 tries, so you won.
I was superior this week.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you'll do better tomorrow than me.
We'll see. Yeah, that's all the games that we have been playing. I guess it's time to finally do the so-called Secret Santa backlog exchange and challenge each other to tackle a backlog game that we might have had on our backlog for quite a while or whatever.
Yeah, we had meant to do this last week, but Diallo having to go, we decided to push it back to this week.
Also, I will fully own up to it. Part of the reason we couldn't do this last time was because of my inability to read. I messed things up. I picked a game for the wrong person.
That's true. That's right.
This time around, I learned my ABCs, so hopefully it'll go off that hitch. Yeah. If I pick the wrong person for the second episode in a row, I will just I don't even know, but I'm confident that I have the right person this time.
It's gonna be so sad if somehow he doesn't.
So I'll check myself into like a clinic or something.
So again, as a recap for the listeners, what we came up here is the concept that we pulled each other's names randomly and had some time to pick a backlog game for that person to tackle throughout the rest of the year, I think we said.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah, we could do it through the end of the year, or if we wanted to do it earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think we've come up with like a firm deadline yet, but I guess TBD.
So hard deadline is the end of the year, but like we have to do this. We have to play this game. I don't think we have to beat it, but we have to try it. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might just go with the order that we had picked the names in. So I would suggest Leah presents her pick for Roy first.
My pick for you is Spirit Roots.
Spirit Roots. Oh, I don't remember that. I'll have to look through my backlog. Oh,
What the
no.
heck
To
is
be
Spirit
fair, your
Roots?
backlog is pretty large.
It's a crisp 2.6K of Spirit Roots. Oh, I
Spirit
didn't even realize I
Roots.
owned this.
On mobile, Switch, and PC.
I guess I'll have to find this and try it then, yeah. This has like no completion, though. I'll be one of the few people doing it.
Yeah.
It's an adventure platformer with mixed reviews on Steam. So have fun, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this is like one of like a bunch of really cheap games I purchased at one point.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I think there was one where like once I purchased one game, for some reason other games were like discounted 97% or something.
I figured it's a short one. Even if you don't like it, you can probably get a huge chunk done before you decide to retire.
That's fair, actually. That's fair.
I'm scared to say it, but this is giving me Ailuri vibes because it looks visually very nice, but mixed reviews.
I mean, if I owned Ailuri and somebody had done it, I would have played it for sure. So.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I wouldn't. Don't want you to see. We don't want to see you suffer like that.
All right, Roy, what game did you pick?
So one thing I'm gonna say is for Diallo, the first game I was gonna pick, he sent me he had two different websites with his backlog because one was more updated than the other. And the first game I was gonna pick was on one, but not the other. So I'm gonna say that one, but if like he doesn't own it anymore or whatever kind of thing, I have a backup.
All
So the game I was going to pick is a game that I really love, which I might even play/replay when I do it, which is Mother 3.
Okay. I have that both. I have the Game Boy Advance game, like the physical one, and then I think I have it in my GBA right now.
Oh, you have the physical? That's so cool.
Oh yeah, see, I have it right here. So I have my Mother 3 cartridge. I have it on Game Boy Advance, and I also, the way that I'll probably play it is via Switch Online.
Still, that's cool as shit. Is it like original Japanese, or is it one of the like reproduction carts with the translation on it?
No, it's in Japanese.
Sick.
Oh,
yeah. So I played Mother, to give a little bit of background, like, a little bit of background on my experience with the Mother series. I played Earthbound for the first time in either 2019 or 2020. Absolutely loved it. Purchased Mother 3 very shortly after beating Earthbound. And then I haven't actually gotten around. I started it like one evening, but it wasn't like, I just wasn't in the mood for an RPG at the time, I guess. I was sort of like having those like video game like choice paralysis moments where I was starting a bunch of different games and not really sticking with any of them. So I played the first maybe like 30-ish minutes, if even that, of this game, but never got back to it. It's been on my radar for a long time. I really want to get around to it. So I'm looking forward to playing this one. I've been curious about it for quite a while. I love playing Lucas in Super Smash Bros. Brawl because I think he has the best. I love his PK Starstorm.
PK Starstorm is fun. It's broken as hell too.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this one. Thank you.
All right,
thank you for the choice.
Out
of curiosity, can I ask what the backup game was?
The backup game was going to be Tales of the Abyss.
Ooh, okay. That's another one that I've played the first like hour of and then haven't gotten back to.
Another
one where I have it in Japanese.
Oh yeah, that in Japanese too. That's cool.
Yeah. One of my friends said Diallo has played the first hour of every RPG node. And I was like, this is so accurate.
I've debated if I wanted to do like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door because it's one of my favorite games. But I kind of felt like doing something like, I don't know, more niche, less big. I don't know how to put it, but that's why Mother 3 came to mind and the other one. My experience with Mother 3 is getting far into the game not long after the fan translation came out, and then the emulator fucked up and it deleted my save file, and I watched the rest on YouTube.
Damn.
Yeah, that's the way
And
to
I
go.
will say, I do have a self-imposed deadline for this. That's earlier than the end of the year because my Nintendo Switch Online expansion or membership with the expansion pack ends, I think, in the summer. So I'll have to beat it before then.
Oh, so you're gonna play in Japanese then?
Yes.
Oh, sick. That's cool. I apparently find this all very sick, but it's true.
Weep moment.
It's true.
Sorry.
No, there's no need to be sorry. I'm guilty as charged.
The game that I have picked for Matt, there were a lot of games on the backlog that I was considering, but I've made my final decision. At one point, I was thinking of doing Dead by Daylight, so that could be kind of funny to get Matt into the fog as well. But I figured I probably have talked about DVD more than enough on this podcast. We don't need to spend that much more time talking about it. So I chose a different game in the end. This is a game that's very near and dear to my heart. I have lots of fond childhood memories of playing this game. This game and Final Fantasy X are tied as the two games that have come the closest to making me cry.
Oh boy.
You mentioned the wrong RPG, Matt. That's stuff.
Yeah. Please no JRPG.
It's not a JRPG. So it's a game from a series that you've mentioned on the podcast before as a series that you wanted to explore. Or I think you haven't played any of the series that you've wanted to. The game that I've chosen is Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Sonic Adventure 2, baby.
That will be my first 3D Sonic game ever. That's okay. Yeah.
I just had a friend
Totally
go
down.
through this game, and they really enjoyed it. I really gotta get through it sometime. This is on my 300 games bucket list. So I'll be really interested what Matt thinks.
Me too. But I mean,
I played it a lot on the GameCube. No, go for it.
Hyped up, right? So it's one of the big Sonic games that people love, right?
I'd say it's hyped up, but it's definitely also one of the Sonic games where like there is jank, is how I'd put it. I mean, that's
That's true. There is definitely jank.
Yeah, I would be surprised if not. Yeah, okay.
I mean, you got through it. You got through most of Ailuri. You'll be good.
Exactly. I don't think that will be too much of a problem. Yeah, I'm very much down for
to
this.
get Couple Bucky Racer working.
That was an experience. I get to finally listen to the soundtrack with the context.
Oh, I totally
Oh yes,
the soundtrack is like unbeatable for this game. I'm so excited
Soundtrack
for
is
you.
bangers, yeah.
Soundtrack is just hit after hit after hit in this one.
Man, the first level we get to hear "Escape from the City." Oh,
Yo,
nothing can top that.
Question, Diallo, favorite Sonic Adventure 2 track? Which one?
Yeah. I think that's the only one that I know by heart. Just from my nephew playing it back in the day.
Oh no. Pumpkin Hill. I like that one too.
Pumpkin Hill. That's a good choice.
All of Knuckles stages have fantastic music. I also think that the Chow Garden has some bangers too, but all Knuckles raps are really great.
Oh, I'm not going to be spending any second in the Chow Garden. I know that for sure.
I was the Chow Garden. That's part of the reason I chose because I feel like the Chow. I thought you might love the Chow Garden. I was considering maybe I should just assign the Chow Garden instead of Sonic Adventure 2.
There's another problem with that though. I'm pretty sure between levels, until you go into the Chow Garden, you're not allowed to advance to the next level. So you have to take at least a second in the Chow Garden.
I think you would enjoy it also, but I think that there's
what
I know me personally, if I were to play it, I would try to stay away and just spend way too much time there. So
it
like
adds so
it's
much
like
depth to the game.
It's a personal like cutoff just because I'm like I just need to do what I do and then get out because otherwise I will spend forever there. So
I guess it seems to me that Matt is going to say ciao to the Chow.
Yeah, probably. Let me reveal my pick for Leah. We previously established that Leah has one of the cleanest backlogs around here. So not too big of a list to choose from.
Yeah.
There were a couple funny ones that I almost chose, but I decided not to be a joker and actually pick a game that I think looks super cool. And actually, this is a game that I myself have on my backlog as well. So I'm very, very curious to hear your opinion so I can move the game up on my shortlist as well afterwards if it ends up being good. The game in question is called The Falcon Nier.
Oh,
okay. I've heard that.
Looks, I mean, obviously it's going to be a broad game. I think that was almost a given. But yeah, this game looks so badass as like an aerial combat game with birds. So fucking dope.
I
So
wonder
bet
if
I
it's at all
hear.
similar to like Colibri. Probably not.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
Neither am
Aerial
I.
combat in general is not a genre I'm familiar with too much.
I actually do own this game too, funny enough.
I only found this. There were 2 Dragonflight games that were basically like their own version of like battle royales, but you play as a dragon or you play as the rider on a dragon and you fly around. And I was like, I need the bird version of this.
Yes.
Yeah, this is another one that's on my Epic backlog. So
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's got to be where I got it.
coming up
Yeah.
soon anyway. So
Dude, hell yeah! I'm really hoping for a good review on this.
I misspoke previously. I said that I like the Pumpkin Hill as one of my favorite Sonic Adventure 2 soundtracks. It's still a banger. The one that I was thinking of is Wild Canyon, though. I also have to give an obligatory mention to, I think it's called Formidable Opponent, like the Eggman boss battle theme or whatever.
If it's Eggman's boss battle theme, it's called Eggman.
There's someone that has an opponent in the name.
Suitable opponent.
Suitable opponent. There we go.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah. Sorry. It was just, when I said after I said Pumpkin Hill, I was like, wait a second. That's a different one. I had to give props to Wild Canyon.
Of course.
How many raps do you know that mention echidnas?
Not many. Mostly from Sonic Adventure 2. I'm sure that shocks you. I do want to add, I always like Shadow's theme from this game, which feels abnormal for a lot of how Shadow's themes would develop, but it's kind of cool and dark. Not like dark, like edgy dark, but like coffee dark, if that makes sense.
Coffee dark. Wow, classy. I cannot imagine that combined with Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow's so good in this game, though. I'm not going to talk more. I don't want to tell him that stuff.
I've seen somebody play the entirety of Shadow the Hedgehog, the actual game, so I'm very curious to see him in a different context, for sure.
That's an unfortunate way to be introduced to Shadow the Hedgehog.
No, it was awesome. It was perfect.
It might be awesome, but it's Shadow the Hedgehog is best enjoyed after other things involving Shadow the Hedgehog.
Fair enough.
Sounds like an eclectic mix of games. Funny enough, I have all of these on my backlog, so I might even just give all of them a go myself.
You're just gonna do all of them. Yeah, so there was the little exchange. Yeah, we got a couple months to try them and then report it back. I'm excited. Gonna be interesting to see who does it first.
Yeah.
Gets the most points.
I know I won't do mine first, most likely, because I'm definitely going to be spending the next month with the Game Pass, like I said, so I won't get on until at least next month. But maybe after my Game Pass ends, it might be like the first game I try, honestly. Why not?
And Sonic Adventure 2 might actually be this summer. There's a good chance that will not wait too long. I haven't played a decent 3D platform in a while.
I think everybody seemed like they gave out some nice games, honestly.
Yeah.
Mine was like a surprise, but I'm interested I like trying games I like don't know much about or that are kind of like I like cruising through games that are like red on how long to beat and don't have many times. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how it goes. It could be Hidden Gem.
Yeah.
That's always the lore of those things, too.
It's true.
We'll see.
A hand root.
I think it's time to move on to our actual discussion topic that we picked out for today, because we decided to ramble about exchange some experiences with media tie-in games or licensed games in general, which is its own subgenre with plenty of pitfalls. Arguably not as active or alive anymore these days, but I have a feeling we're gonna see a bunch of nostalgic memories maybe with this one. Back in the day, these were huge and everywhere, right? Licensed games, media tie-in games are a special interest of mine because they seem so weird, and I guess there's this nostalgic thing because they were in the stores all the time when I was a kid.
I feel like for most of our ages, a lot of licensed games probably were around when we were growing up.
Especially because a lot of them, maybe most of them, are movie tie-in games, and a lot of them obviously based on more family-friendly movies. There's other subgenres, like the food brand-based ones.
Oh yeah.
Or celebrity-based ones, which some of them have some weird shit.
Or the car-based.
Yeah. How about we share some of our favorite media tie-in games, because I think most of them have a reputation of being shit. but some of them rule.
My first game ever would be probably considered a licensed game / tie-in game. Because Lego Racers, that was a game with a whole Lego brand to it, actually. Not that I even knew that at the time, but...
Wait, sorry. So Lego Racers was your intro to Lego?
It was not my intro to Lego, I believe. Actually, it might have been, now that I think about it, because I was only 5 when I got the game. Did I own any Lego before Lego Racer?
I hope not. That's a choking hazard at that age.
Yeah, at 5, probably I didn't have Lego yet, so probably this, I suppose, was my intro to Lego, now that I think about it. I didn't really think about that until Diallo asked that. But I suppose this was my intro to Lego.
Wild. This
is a really fun game. This is a very short game, but it's very fun. It has, unsurprisingly, a lot of kart customization, where you can build your little Lego minifigure, and as you go through the Grand Prix story mode, as you beat each racer, you get a bunch of car parts. And you can really just build whatever the hell you want with the Lego, frankly. It's actually quite freeform.
That's the best thing about the early Lego games.
Real.
I'm gonna have a hot take here, though. Lego Racers 2 is better.
Oh, that is a hot take. And
I know it's a hot take, but I think it is true.
I don't know if I agree, but I've never been Lego Racers 2. So I can't, I have to play it to truly say. To give you an idea, my first username on the internet had Rocket Racer in it because I liked Rocket Racer, the final boss.
I remember that Roy lore. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. This is one that's kind of near and dear to me in a way. It's a game I would still recommend people come back to. It's not like the crispest driving kart racer ever. It is pretty short, but it's fun. It's good.
What I don't like about Lego Racers 1, if we really want to dig into this fucking thing, to win, you have to really abuse the power-ups, and I don't like that kind of racing. The actual racing in your vehicle doesn't really matter much. You just have to use the power-ups a lot.
I feel like you don't always need to abuse them per se, but obviously the best way to win is to get the green power-ups and warp everywhere.
Yeah. That's the trick, yeah.
Yeah, I think the only ones you really need to abuse are like the Rocket Racer level, basically. Maybe Gypsy Moss. Probably Gypsy Moss.
It's been a long time. But I was thinking if the Lego games, because there are a ton of them, they aren't really your typical licensed games in terms of the advertising-centric trash, right? The Lego games are usually actual products of somebody wanting to make an enjoyable experience. Other than I think most games based on movies or TV shows or whatever, they very often are the ones that really just throw some bargain bin crap together to have the name out there.
That's true.
But even there are bangers. One of the games that I would shout out, if we're talking about favorites, would be the game based on Peter Jackson's King Kong, which just fucking rocks.
I've heard people say good thing about this.
Yes.
Yeah, that one is generally regarded as one of the good ones. You don't even have to care about the King Kong movie. It's just a really cool atmospheric shooter adventure game on an island full of giant bugs and dinosaurs. That's the main sell, I feel. And that's just that whole thing just rules.
I wonder why you feel that way.
Yeah. Of course, I am the bug guy, so of course I enjoy that. But they also have this whole wildlife system where the different creatures really interact with each other. You can use animal corpses as bait for the dinosaurs and all that sort of thing. And there's infighting between the different creatures. It has some cool tech going on as well.
I gotta say, if I may, this is just something more reminded me of. There were 6 Jurassic Park games, all just titled Jurassic Park, in the span of 2 years.
Yeah, that shit was everywhere, and I don't think any of them are good.
I don't know.
I think Jurassic Park Genesis, or whatever it's called, the actual park builder one, is regarded as a good one. And I have a soft spot for Jurassic Park Warpath, which is a beat-em-up fighting thing where the characters are all the dinosaurs.
That sounds
a bit
cool.
janky, but I think it's worth a shot. It's a bit janky, but I had a good time with that nonsense.
Primal Rage-esque, I suppose, but probably not that level.
No, you get a lot of blood, but that's the only bodily fluid.
Oh gosh. let me steer this in a different direction.
Yeah.
Let's get away from the dinosaur jizz.
Okay. So in preparation for this episode, I was looking through my backlog my completed games, and I didn't see any media tie-in games. I was under the impression that I hadn't played any as an adult. Of course, there were a couple that I played, like, you know, in my childhood. Shout out to Elmo's Letter Adventure and Elmo's Number Journey on the N64.
Yeah.
But Matt, when you were saying at the beginning about celebrity-related media tie-in games, that did remind me that I had a phase where I was playing Kim Kardashian Hollywood, the mobile game.
I guess.
So to explain a little bit about the circumstances of how I came to be playing this game is when I started it, I couldn't even name like multiple Kardashians at the point. I didn't know like I was not keeping up with the Kardashians by any means. But what got me playing the game, my roommate at the time and I went out with a friend, and he was playing the Kim Kardashian mobile game. And we're like, "Oh, what's that game that you're playing?" It's like, "Oh, it's Kim Kardashian Hollywood. Hold on, I just got to do my dailies really quickly." And we were like, "Oh, where's Kim Kardashian?" Because like you make a character in the game, right? And you play as that character. And he was like, "Oh, you know, she comes every now and then." I just thought that was so funny that like in Kim Kardashian's like own game, like, she's not even she's not even present for the whole time. So my roommate and I were both like, "Oh gosh, we have to get into this. Like this sounds like a riot." So we both started playing ironically, and then he dropped off very fast, and I very quickly became an unironic player. I got kind of hooked on it. It's a game. It's a typical mobile game. You know, you're trying to like work your way up the celebrity ranking list or whatever, and you have to like. There's like hardly any gameplay. It's mostly just like waiting for your meters to recharge, and like it's been so long that I played. I forget the details of the quote unquote gameplay, but it's basically just like regular mobile pay to win business. That being said, I was hooked on it for like quite some time. There was about like a year or so that I was pretty logging in daily, doing my little dailies. I am proud that my character got to not just the A list, but the A++ list, which means that I got to the top of the A list not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I probably would have kept going, but there was one event that I was doing where I got bugged. Like, it wouldn't let me tap the things that you're supposed to tap on.
Oh my God.
It was just bugged out on me. And so I contacted support. I was like, "Hey, you know, like this bugged out on me." And they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry. Like, you know, that's a bug that's been happening for some people. And unfortunately, we can't restore your streak." And that was the kiss of death for me, because I had like a good, like, you know, over a year long streak going at that point. And I was like, well, now, you know, the joy is gone. So that's, I guess, the media tie-in game that I played in most recent memory. Also, I just have to obligatory. The dress up in that game is really fun. I can't lie. I loved like making all the different outfits. Kind of, I guess, like a toned down version of Infinity Nikki. But that's the bulk of my adult media tie-in experience.
So did you ever put money into those microtransactions?
No, I'm very much a free-to-play kind of player.
I played all of those. I played Kim's game. I played Kylie and Kendall. It was one of those things where like you could do a bunch of things like on my commute, and then I had a job that was like in the basement, so there was no Wi-Fi, so I couldn't play for like multiple hours. So I was like, it's, you know, like doing stuff in the background, and then like when I got out of work, I'd be like, okay, back on the bus, do the rest of my chores or whatever in the game. So yeah, I played that Kylie's game. There was a Britney one that wasn't that good. There was a Jason Statham one that was like a shooter. Like, it was they had so many of these like glue games that were just like, slap a celebrity on it, push it out.
The Jason Statham one is not even on How Long to Beat. That was sad.
Yeah.
Almost Number Journey is.
But I would say, when I think of media tie-in games, the only thing that really comes to mind is Cool Spot and Yo Noid, which were like very early on.
Oh my God.
Yo Noid, let's go.
Yo Noid, I think, was like a game that I played on like Commodore 64 when I was like, I don't know, -10. So like, but Cool Spot was for Genesis, and I remember I had Cool Spot, and I also had Tasmania on Genesis. And I'm like, most of the games on Genesis that I had was like Aladdin, Mickey's Castle of Illusion, or whatever it was. So it was basically all my stuff on Genesis were media tie-in games.
Yeah.
But I would say the one that really is my favorite was the EA Lord of the Rings games. They did the Two Towers and Return of the King for PlayStation 2. And to this day, like anytime somebody brings it up on like a Reddit gaming sub, there'll be like threads and threads of people being like, can we have this remastered? Can we bring this back? I want to play these again, because they were so fun.
I feel like those games are pretty popular. Yeah, they got that like cult classic.
Yeah.
That just unlocked some childhood memories for me. I used to watch my uncle play the Lord of the Rings games.
Yeah. There was like a streamer that I followed that didn't get like a lot of viewers, and they were just like, "Oh, I found a copy of this today on like Instagram. This will be tonight's stream." And there was so many people in the chat. Like, I had never seen that many people in the chat, and I was like, "Yeah, this is the way to get like viewers on Twitch, is to play this game." In 2025.
It's kind of amazing, actually.
Yeah. There's a few other ones. Like I know I've played a lot of the Spider-Man games. Spider-Man 2 in particular was a really good open world game. I still quote a lot of that to this day. All the NPC dialogue. If we're talking about favorites, I guess also like if we want to go back to the arcade, like The Simpsons and like Captain America and the Avengers also were good ones. Yeah, I while I was looking for these, I was also looking up the Flintstone game because I know I played 2 on the NES, but apparently one of them was a fever dream because it doesn't actually exist.
Love to hear that.
Because I remember there being a game based on not the live action movie, but there was like a cartoon, like a regular Flintstone movie that I saw in theaters, and I remember playing the game based on this movie. Does not exist anywhere on any site. I'm like, okay. I was. That may have been just a dream I had. Also, Spy vs. Spy.
Spy vs. Spy.
I didn't realize that Turok was a comic character.
True, yeah.
Yeah, that's one I don't think most people would say. They would say it's like a tie-in or anything.
The games definitely like overshadowed the comics for sure. Yeah.
I didn't realize that Spy vs. Spy was anything other than a video game.
Those were like I remember those as comic strips in the Mad magazine stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember at some point learning that there's a Spy v Spy, I think NES game, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing about that as a kid, not having any access to that, and I was always like so jealous because I like the Mad magazine comics. I should pick that out sometime.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
I
don't know what the point of the game was initially, but like it was a fun little co-op to play.
Nobody was able to explain it to me back then either. I remember that vividly.
You're a spy, you find out the spy. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking childhood stuff. Another banger in the licensed tie-in game sector is the Toy Story 2 platforming game. I think we mentioned this before. That one is just one of the best 3D platformers I have played that I desperately want to get back to someday. And I always want to shout out the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. The pod racing game, which is legit a banger. God, yeah. One of the best anti-grav racers out there.
I've always been a fan of the droid game, the pit droids.
I gotta say, I've never been the biggest fan of the racer, admittedly. It's not bad, but it's never been one of my more favored racers.
Yeah, I've played this last year after only like having a bunch of glimpses from childhood friend houses back in the day. Last year was the first time I was actually able to purchase it myself and play it, and it was like so fucking awesome to play myself.
Because you really like the anti-grav racers.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely my alley. And it's well designed.
For me, a racer, a tie-in licensed racer I really liked on the N64 was kind of a weird one, Beetle Adventure Racing. The old Volkswagen company.
Huh?
It's the Volkswagen Beetles. It was a game entirely based around them.
Oh my god!
It's a game. It's surprisingly difficult, especially if you want to get everything. It has like 30 or 40 cheat codes you can unlock.
I did play a demo of this at some point. I don't know where that demo is.
The trash.
Like
oh no!
This is a good one. This is a fun one.
All right, fair enough.
You can all the tracks are pretty like well developed. There's like some wild stuff. Like on the island track, as you go through the island, the volcano that's on it explodes more and more. And by the end, you're driving through like a lava destroyed village as you're trying to get to the end of the pier.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? There's a UFO in one of the like secret areas kind of thing, which has like weird dubsteppy music.
That rules. Okay.
Yeah, this is a game I'd recommend. This is a game I'd recommend for the people who really want some kind of like offbeat racing games. You know, it controls pretty well. It's good. It's not too long either.
One of the more recent licensed games that I've played that I kind of like to shout out because I don't think people know this exists for good reason. There's a paranormal activity based VR horror game which is really fun. doesn't really matter that it's connected to the movies, but it's a great like haunted house simulator where you walk around a haunted house in VR and shit your pants in real life. It's very good in that sense.
Nice.
Just
Yes.
bring it all together.
It's one I would recommend to people that are into VR. But it didn't need a branding. I think there's a bunch of those kind of games. Have you ever played, any of you, a tie-in game that you liked where you didn't care about the source material? Did that ever happen?
Tie-in game I liked where I didn't care about the source material.
I've got to say, I don't think I had seen the Indiana Jones movies before I played the Lego one.
Oh my god.
For Lego Racer,
Because I never sat down and watched the full movie.
I remember the Lego game, the Lego Indiana Jones game. Don't they have the like dancing Nazi sequence and all of that? Like, it's so strange.
In most of the Lego games, there's always like a disco area where, like, if you do the puzzle, it's like everybody runs to the dance floor and starts dancing. So yeah,
oh yeah.
I could imagine that.
One of the pitfalls of licensed games, making something like that.
Yeah.
Would that cause the game to have trouble in Germany, Matt?
I think they don't use any of the actual symbolism anyway. It's not even like graded
That
that
makes
way.
sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
definitely. Yeah, it would be rough if the Lego games would actually like use those. That would be rough.
I was gonna say that a lot of the licensed games are probably an easy sell to like parents who probably saw the movie with their kids or like watched the TV and they're like, oh, at least I know what this game is about, more or less, because we've seen whatever. So that would be a very interesting shock to the system. Otherwise,
that makes sense with franchises from movies and TV shows and comic books. But who the fuck buys food-based games like the M&M games and oh my god,
childhood memories. I just remember I had an M&M game. I had an M&M game when I was growing up. Yeah, I had some. It was some M&M like platformer game. I remember you were like running on the tops of cars at one point, trying to collect the coins or M&Ms or something. I think I got it as like a free demo, probably like after purchasing like some like M&M or like some cereal or something. It came in the box.
Oh,
I was gonna ask if it was kind of like Crash Bandicoot, but if not, then it's probably not the one I'm thinking of.
Maybe a little bit like Crash Bandicoot.
All right. In that case, it might be M&M's Shell Shock.
what a mess.
I don't think I've played M&M at all.
I played M&M's Kart Racing on Nintendo DS, and I want to know, I want everybody to know that that's one of the worst video games ever put on anything. That was an actually painful experience, and I don't know how you can fuck up something as straightforward as a racing game that hard.
There's ways, trust me on that.
There's ways. Yeah, clearly there is ways, yeah.
This isn't
the
a
Crazy
license.
Frog Racer is also awesome.
I was gonna say this isn't a one M&M's game for some shit.
For some
Shell
reason.
Shock, official licensed product. Oh, good. I'm so glad.
If my memory is to be trusted, Shell Shock does look like how I remember the M&M game that I played as a kid looking. I think, though, I don't think it was the full game. I think it was just a demo that we got. But, yeah.
You might have been spared some suffering there, yeah.
I mean, I've actually had Shell Shock in my backlog. I do want to try it sometime. But
speed, my guy.
do sports games technically count as licensed games?
I was thinking about that as well. I think in a way, yes, they do.
If we're talking terrible licensed racers, NASCAR 09. You want to talk about how to fuck up a race? That game has the tightest controls I have ever had, to the point it is unplayable. I turned the stick sensitivity to max, and when I tried to turn a corner, it felt like I was breaking my controller just to like turn normally.
Yeah, the NASCAR games are a thing in themselves. I was going down that rabbit hole before because, of course, famously NASCAR racers only go in a circle. So I couldn't really imagine how you could really fuck them up. But apparently NASCAR fans have their opinions.
Oh, definitely.
Their strong opinions on these games.
I do.
Are you a NASCAR fan? Oh.
This is a slightly complicated topic. Answer, I grew up watching NASCAR as my first sport that I really liked. Even though I wasn't like from the South or anything, which is like the traditional NASCAR demographic.
Yeah. Gotta be from Corpus Christi for that.
Exactly. Around 2005, they changed the format of the NASCAR point system. Whereas before, there wasn't there wasn't a playoff system. They added this like weird playoff system called the Chase for the Cup. And the thing is, playoff systems, in my opinion, don't work well with racing sports. Because racing sports already kind of, part of the point of a playoff system in a normal sport like football or baseball is that it's infeasible to have everyone play everyone every week or a reasonable amount of times in the year, right? For 32 baseball teams to play each other like 10 times would take more than there are days in a year or whatever. But a NASCAR race isn't the same thing. The same people are racing like every time. You already are getting like all the natural competition and stuff. The whole thing was like the way the playoffs worked was kind of stupid. And Jimmy Johnson, like I didn't mind Jimmy Johnson winning a lot, but Jimmy Johnson, he just kept winning a bunch because they didn't rotate the tracks in the playoffs. So since he was good at those tracks, he just needed to get in and he would win. And I kind of fell off NASCAR because of that. But I grew up as a big NASCAR fan. NASCAR Thunder 2003 is actually a game I love. 9 out of 10.
There you go.
I played that career mode so much. I've been playing NASCAR Thunder 2004 earlier this year. Might be even better. Unfortunately, after NASCAR Thunder 2005, the game started to go downhill.
Well,
that's wild. I could not. I've seen so many videos about this, and
I feel like that happens with a lot of the sporting games.
It did. I'd say after the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, sports games started going downhill, and they're still struggling to recover.
Huh.
I think that's why they all started doing those like career mode things where they were just like.
Well, the thing is that started in the PS2 era too, actually, for a lot of them.
Yeah, but it wasn't as like I watched somebody playing some basketball one, and I was like, you got to do sponsorships and like ads for things, a sneaker commercial, and I was just like, this has nothing to do with basketball, but it's like it's part of their career. So I was like, they're so much more intense now.
I feel like the biggest thing is that there is no genre that has worse microtransactions than goddamn sports games.
Well,
yeah, probably true. Yeah.
At least when you play a shitty gacha game, unless the gacha closes immediately, you keep your stuff until the game is over. Sports games basically delete all your stuff after a year because no one plays. It's so...
I was about to like the sports license games that I have experience with are like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer and shit like that. And the whole snowmobile games that I was ranting about some episodes ago, they have like proper snowmobile brand stuff going on to sell their machines or whatever, like the Ski-Doo Snowmobile Challenge or Polaris Snowcross. Even aside from the sports games, it's weird that there are some personality-driven games. I mean, we talked about the Kim Kardashian game, whatever, but there's also like the 50 Cent games, which is kind of an enigma in itself, I feel.
Oh yeah, the 50 Cent games, those are fun.
Are they? I don't know. Or like
I've actually heard the first 50 Cent game is actually like a solid shooter. It's not like gonna, break the bank on innovation or anything. The second game I've heard is like less solid mechanically, but the story is so incredibly stupid, funny that like it's an enjoyable time.
I could see that, but you know what we really need to bring back is the Def Jam series.
I was just gonna say that.
Hey, there we go. The beat 'em up games with all the rappers as characters.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's not a thing anymore. We have enough people around to put.
There's enough
together.
beefs happening in music.
Lamar versus Drake on fighting game.
Although I guess that's exactly why that's not going to happen, because you're not going to get the licensing rights to all of these people when they have each other in the games.
And that's why you have microtransactions.
Plus, unfortunately, the last Def Jam game really sucked, and it's EA.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's it.
Bummer.
What I also want to see again is Celebrity Deathmatch.
The show is dead.
The show is dead, but it would be really easily done as not like as a live action, but like maybe as a battle royale. You just get different skins, and then just people just run around in like this huge open world and just like attack each other. I guess that's just basically Fortnite, but
yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Fortnite.
That is Fortnite. We want Fortnite apparently.
I do want to say, since Matt mentioned personality-driven games,
yeah,
one thing I remember seeing is like going through like the Game Boy Advance's library. There's like 5 Mary-Kate and Ashley games. There's like 4 Drake and Josh games. I feel like those are the games that like existed at like a whole bunch of games. Probably nobody remembers them, but like,
Yeah.
man, there was like five of those games.
True. No human ever has played all of them. I
Exactly.
refuse to believe.
I think I downloaded one or two, but
No, don't do it.
I mean, speaking of licensed games, we did have the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy. That counts.
Yeah.
God damn, that's true. That's true. That wasn't good. Little Mermaid on the NES, however, is okay.
That was solid, yeah.
Yeah.
This, since we're on the topic of something like this, does Kingdom Hearts count?
Yeah.
I knew someone would bring this up.
It's an
it
eternal
does.
question.
All right, if we count Kingdom Hearts, then I have played a lot of media tie-in games as an adult. Then
Yeah,
There you go.
because they kind of are, really. Because you can definitely see, like, Kingdom Hearts 3, there's definitely some worlds, that's why they're the worlds in the game.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like
Just
that fits.
Just a big shiny advert game.
Looking up
Oh.
Beauty and the Beast, I just came across these Tiger Electronics handhelds.
Oh no.
The most successful advert game in history.
Oh my god.
Tiger Electronics.
The best thing ever. I had this Beauty and the Beast one too.
My condolences.
Oh
I was too busy playing the Domestos toilet cleaner flash game. That was some quality shit.
oh, I see what you did there.
I did not mean to make that a pun or whatever.
Matt making some real crappy puns, but we got to.
Yeah.
There's another game I don't know if it counts as a true tie-in licensing game, but I would say actually has probably my favorite use of like merchandising, tie-in, license, and so on would probably be Pikmin 2, honestly. Because that game has. So with Pikmin 2,
it's
like
product placement, but I feel like that's separate from a media tie-in, in my opinion.
That's why I said it's not really a true one. That's what I was saying.
But yeah,
I was gonna say it's like post-apocalyptic Earth. They do some fun stuff with like the characters don't know what it is, but you know what a Duracell battery is. Stuff like that. I feel like it does.
Thing.
Right, and I think it did a really good job with enhancing the feel of the world while still being product placement. In a way that felt very natural. It didn't really feel like product placement.
Right, yeah.
It's not like Darkened Sky having Skittle power-ups or Croc 2 Lifesaver gummy jump pads.
Weird shit, man. Weird shit all around. I just remembered the Fight Club video game. Have any of you seen that stuff?
I've seen it because I've seen Matt McMuscles play it on the worst fighting game.
That makes sense. Fight Club, of course, movie based on a book about a guy losing his mind.
Matt.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Fight Club. That's like the one rule.
Oh my gosh. I feel that feel only counts for the video game because that rightfully so is not mentioned.
Oh my god.
I feel like Fight Club, the game, is one of those. It's like a prime example of going the wrong way with it. Yes, the movie, the story has people brawling it out in basements and alleyways, but that's not like the actual focus of the movie. It's about the psychological journey or whatever of the main guy losing his mind. And then the video game, of course, is a straight up beat 'em up with all these characters fighting each other. And again, the fights are not the basis of the story, so it's weird to force them to actually give each character some sort of like unique moveset in a clunky way or whatever.
Fair, they don't really give them unique movesets in that game.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, try to, I guess. It's a shit game that completely goes past the point of the source material, is what I mean.
Does.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the problem is that by making the game, they talked about Fight Club, therefore it just negated the whole thing.
Absolutely. Fuck.
I almost feel like Fight Club would make more sense as like a visual novel where if you make certain choices, you end up getting in a fight.
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of thing. Or like maybe an adventure game kind of thing or something. Walking sim, you know what I mean? But like sometimes
I guess.
choice between a fight. I mean, like, how would you adapt Fight Club kind of thing?
Probably not at all, to be honest.
Let's assume you have to.
Oh no. I don't know, make a management game out of it. You're organizing the Fight Club ring or whatever. That would be, I don't know.
You need two plots of like his daytime and his nighttime.
Oh,
That
true.
would make sense.
Oh, it's
There
like
you go.
Persona.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
This does remind me in a weird way because it doesn't. I probably shouldn't start like that, but I am anyway. How like one of the games that that caused this entire discussion to come up is Toy Story 2 for like the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, and that was a really good one if you ask me.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier actually. Yeah, that's one of the best 3D platformers. Yeah.
Funny enough, when I was playing Little Kitty Big City earlier, it kind of reminded me of Toy Story 2 in the sense that like you're kind of like a small creature and the natural urban environment you would
Right, yeah.
recognize as like a new platformy twist on it. But I think Toy
Yeah.
Story 2 did it a lot better.
Yeah, that one is definitely a classic that stands the test of time, I believe.
Yeah. I remember everybody said the one Toy Story 4 game was really good, but I've never tried it.
4. I don't even know that. I didn't even know there was a 4th game.
Yeah, they made a Toy Story. Actually, I guess the game was for Toy Story 3, but they did make a Toy Story 4.
I remember playing. Yeah, Toy Story 3 had a game. Yeah, which I believe is overhyped. I don't see why people are loving that one so much. It was very mediocre in my opinion.
I've never gotten to try it, so I can't really say. If we want to talk about like another kind of licensed game, there's like the Star Wars and Star Trek games. Not all of those are licensed and tie-ins, but some are. But I do just want to shout out Star Trek Armada, one of my favorite RTS games ever. It has like an all-original story that ties into like all the series events in a really cool way and uses some underutilized characters.
Star Wars, I think I've played the NES and the Super Star Wars trilogy, I guess.
Those are brutal.
Were I think
I
one
always
of the
heard those
first
are
games I
hard.
actually completed
Nice.
as a kid because they were like rentals from Blockbuster, so I only had the 3 days to finish them. So like I just chugged through. But I remember a lot of like frame rate drops with those back in the day, which is hilarious to think about.
You get the sweet 60 FPS on that one.
Yeah, and then I think the next one that I tried out was Shadows of the Empire for N64.
Oh, that's an interesting.
I don't know that I've played many Star Trek games.
Yeah, I feel like Star Trek games are much less played than Star Wars games, to little surprise in my opinion.
There was a few of those like mobile ones that they came out with that I got ads for all the time, and I was like, I was curious until this was the ad every single time I had to play an ad,
and then it's just
and then that killed it.
Yeah, I feel like Star Trek just lends itself less naturally to a video game, basically.
Yeah, it's less action oriented, the source material. So yeah, Star Wars definitely fits more that.
Yeah, I would mention like Knights of the Old Republic. Like that's not really a tie-in game. That's really more just a game set in Star Wars. So I don't know if that counts.
Yeah,
that's far away. Yeah.
Like The Force Unleashed, I would say counts because they did like all comics and tried to make that like a big thing. Those were like interesting games. I feel like it's kind of funny. I feel like they were all the rage kind of when they came out, and now they're not talked about much.
That's true. Yeah, it feels like that. One last question, unless we have already mentioned those, what is everybody's like worst experience of a media tie-in game? Unless we already mentioned that. Mine is definitely the M&M's kart racing.
Mine would probably be Lego Stunt Rally, specifically for the Game Boy Color. Not the PC version, which I've actually heard is solid.
Okay, yeah.
The weird thing about Lego Stunt Rally is that it's a racing game where you don't control the thing, you kind of just hold down the gas button, change lanes. You don't really do a lot.
Oh, that sort of thing. Like a slot car racing thing. Yeah, okay.
Like a slot car racing thing, but it's not really done very well. And the graphics are pretty horrific. And there's no customization even though it's a Lego game.
Yeah.
I think two of the ones that I was most disappointed with, well, three. One was that Ghostbusters one that came out for like PS3 or something. Because I really wanted that to be good, and like absolutely everybody hated it. The Lost game that came out, just because ironically it had really bad voice acting and they had the actors from the show.
There's a Lost game.
So I was like, I don't understand how they were so bad at voicing these characters that they play every day, of their lives at that point. The Warriors was another one that was like disappointing to me because again, that very few times that they mentioned the Bronx in the movies or like had anything to do with like actual outside of Manhattan, New York City. So I was hoping that game would be a little bit more exciting than it actually ended up being.
Didn't that game also come out like 20 years after the movie or something?
I don't understand why that happened. It was clearly somebody at Rockstar that was like, this is my one dream to bring this to fruition one day.
Very strange.
Everybody's got their own hopes and dreams, you know?
Yeah. And also the last one I would say is the Watchmen game, because the Watchmen game only came with like the deluxe edition of the movie, and the movie was great, but I didn't want to buy the movie again just to play this game. And then the game was like 2 hours. I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people said that it was like terrible, but I was expecting more for having to buy the movie again than just a 2-hour, RPG or whatever. I think a lot of the more recent Lego games kind of lost the luster also.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was actually gonna mention some stuff with that, but I'm not sure if we should go back to talk about anything more. But I kind of felt to me like for a while, like the Lego games and Toys to Life kind of just sucked up all like the licensing tie-in game space and kind of killed it. But now I feel like with the Toys to Life basically dead, I kind of feel like we're seeing a bit of a comeback.
I don't know.
Like the new Indiana Jones game was really well liked.
That's true. That's true.
That was a big.
Yeah, I'm excited to play that.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might because it's on Game Pass. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I guess my worst experience would be when Kim Kardashian Hollywood glitched on me.
Probably.
That's very fair. Yeah, that's a tragic moment.
Sad.
That's usually the only way my streaks in games stop, where either a bug happens or like it doesn't register that it was like right before midnight, and it's like you lost. And I was like, well, I'm uninstalling immediately.
Oh man, yeah.
I do want to talk about one last thing I didn't quite get a chance to say before we stop, if I may.
Sure.
Which is that one of my random license games I really like is Monopoly Tycoon for the PC. Which is like...
What makes it different?
Well, it's not Monopoly at all, for one thing. It's like a weird competitive city builder is the best way I can kind of... Like, competitive city builder business management game. You, go to properties which are all named after, Monopoly properties, and you build businesses, and you set their prices and do all that, and you try to buy the properties and stuff, and you're competing, against, four more other players. And you're trying to get the most money, get them out of business, or be elected mayor, or all kinds of stuff like that. You can buy the railroads and utilities and charge other players. It's actually very fun. And I really wanted...
Incorporated.
Capitalism Incorporated, that's right. I really wanted to try to find a way to get the multiplayer with other people working. Because I've never got a chance to play this multiplayer. And I really want to see how it would work out.
Goodness gracious. That sounds depressing to me. Okay, I think it's time for us to move on to our final segment. Guess the game.
Do-do-do-do! Welcome, one and all, to the segment that ends every podcast episode. That's right, it's Guess the Game. The name kind of tells you what it's about, but I'm going to go over the rules anyway. I'm going to read off a random game from contestants' completion list. I'm going to read off completion comments, giving clues to which game is correct, including the completion time and the platform that it is on. The sooner they guess the game, the more points they get. Now, I'm going to try to make it so that's on everybody's completion list. But if it's not on somebody's completion list, they get an extra point if they guess the game to make up for their disadvantage. Fortunately, though, this week we have a game that is on everybody's completion list, so you're on equal ground.
Oh, you found the hidden diamond.
I mean,
there are too many of these.
It was not easy. You all, I found some 2 out of 3s, but it was hard finding those 3 out of 3s. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So,
I feel this.
The first note, the main note, is by a user called Moonashine. They played on PC, 3 hours, 10 minutes, and their comment said, kind of rushed through, mostly flew over the text in the middle of the game, but they still gave it a 9 out of 10, so they enjoyed the time.
3 hours on PC. Screams indie game, for sure.
Could you read the comment once more?
The comment said, kind of rushed through, Mostly flew over the text in the middle of the game.
Kind of rushed through. Mostly flew over the text in the middle of the game. Gonna have to put my thinking hat on for this one. Sorry, I should think quietly.
No. Let us
What
let
do
us
we
take
ask?
part in your thinking.
We all completed this, or it's in our backlog?
From what I saw, unless I messed up, all of you completed it. I looked through all of your completion lists and I put the name of the game through the search to make sure that you all had completed it.
Okay.
So it should, unless backlog itself messed up, it should be good.
I think that's too broad for me. That's like
3 hours.
so it's a 3-hour PC indie game and there's text.
3-hour
Yeah.
And we all beat it.
I'm gonna guess a short hike.
All right.
Oh shit, that's a good one. Shit. Fuck.
Also, I just double checked. You indeed did all complete the game. I
Okay.
just double checked to make sure. It's on your completed list.
I'm gonna say Firewatch, but I don't think that fits.
Indie games that are 3 hours. Huh.
Puyo Puyo Tetris 2.
Yes.
I don't know. I'll say beginner's guide. I have no idea.
Oh.
Unfortunately, nobody's getting it in round 1, it looks like.
Okay.
I would say all of you are off. So, for the next one, I had 2 I was deciding between. Not that you're going to get 2 hints, but I was kind of deciding between 2 different hints here. And I think I'll go with the one by Pariah Dark, which is 4 hours, 12 minutes. Main story plus the joke, question mark. Ending, you get by starting a new game after tampering with some stuff. 8 out of 10.
Huh?
Oh.
Oh, don't say you know it. Stop it. The
At least you
joke
might know it.
question mark.
You might know it.
Joke.
Yep. That you get by starting a new game after tampering with some stuff.
Yeah.
No, you don't. No.
I think she
You
might
already
have
got
it.
enough points.
I think she might have it. We'll see.
I don't
hell?
see how that's
This is a game. Do I want to make this guess? Because I've guessed this in previous rounds and it's been wrong before. But whatever. Here we go. YOLO. I'm gonna guess Doki Doki Literature Club.
yeah.
Alright.
Same.
I know about like a new game quest for that one. I know like, about tampering with stuff, but
Yeah.
all other things don't
Yeah,
apply.
that's
and I
the
can't
only
think.
thing.
Alright. So,
Damn it.
Diallo is guessing Doki Doki Literature Club. What's everyone else guessing?
Yeah, I'm also
That's way
saying
too
Doki
good.
Doki.
You're also guessing it, Leah?
Yeah.
What
Wait,
would
wait,
happen
wait,
if you do?
Wait, I don't think we're allowed to guess the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Then how does that
Okay.
work? I mean,
I think Diallo mentioned it
is
first,
it just
so
alright?
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
Leah has to pick something else then.
but yeah, I was thinking about some meta breaking games as well, like maybe the Pony Island guy or whatever. But we had Pony Island before, I believe, so that's already out. And I don't actually know or even think that you two have played the other games by the developer.
I've played Inscription
So-
and Pony Island, but not the Hex yet.
Yeah, so that's I figured that's already out.
We did Pony Island was already a game,
Yeah.
right? We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, technically, there's no rule against using the same game repeatedly.
No,
I guess that's true. Yeah, sure.
No,
Okay,
I
that's
feel
fine.
like it goes without saying.
That's like, fuck it, Pony Island again.
Yeah, I'm putting it down.
Alright, we got Pony Island again. Alright, so now it's up to Leah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I've played that has tampering in it. That's the thing. That's the only thing that stuck out to me because I was like,
The
well,
rare tempering mechanic.
yeah.
Tampering.
Even with
At least in the games
like,
I play.
I do believe Doki is a good guess, but I actually don't know what the joke is referencing.
Same. That's what I was.
Yeah,
trying to-
that's. I think because they said joke
trying to-
question mark, right? So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
they,
don't know.
they put a question mark. They're not sure if it's
Yeah.
a joke.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Well, just
Pass.
guess something random.
Yeah. I don't know. I had to go boyfriend.
Diallo is right.
Oh.
It's Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
makes
go.
sense.
It only
We
took me
just
6
need to be a
episodes,
bit-
but finally on the map.
That's right. We just need to be a bit quicker on the trigger, and she would have gone it. And once again, Stonewall everyone.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah,
I filled my
he's
score
gone
with
to
the
0.
0.
Yeah, he's gonna be
Proud
the
of that
last
one.
one to get points.
And
What the
that
hell
you're
is
you're
the
up next. You have to do the next round too. So
I'm not getting any points. Yeah.
That could
Very
end this
true.
whole season on 0.
Now I'm determined to do so.
I've really got to ask. Finding a game all 3 of you played was indeed not easy.
yeah.
Honestly, one thing doing this list made me think would be fun sometime would be a challenge where like we complete a game in our backlog that another person has been to like match more completed stuff.
Well, that's what I have.
Sure.
I have Super Metroid in my backlog
Yeah.
just because everybody else has played it. So I was like, okay, maybe I should
Right.
check that off.
I mean-
Peer pressure.
It's a
Yeah.
good one. So, hey.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. That was our final segment for this episode today. The audience, let us know about your personal experiences with tie-in, media tie-in, or licensed games. Maybe you got some wild stuff going on in your life. Feel free to use whatever comment section you find.
Maybe you two are a Monopoly Tycoon.
No, I hope not. You're banned from listening to this if you do.
Oh no.
But yeah, that wraps up another episode of the How Long to Beat podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. And we'll
Team Rocket's blasting off
There
again.
we go.
Again!